Right, we'll get going now then. Folks, welcome back to the podcast. This is, I think, episode 109. We've got Ed Miles and Mick Wynn, and they're going to be chatting to us about motorcycle clothing protection and basically everything to do with motorbikes. How are you doing, boys?
Yep, great, thank you. Perfect.
Awesome. You all right, Mick?
Yeah, I'm good. Just back
Excellent.
from Eichmere.
Oh, wow. How was that?
Show. A lot of walking.
Yeah, I've never done it.
Steps a day.
Gee whiz.
It's a 3-dayer, really. It's a 3-dayer. So, yeah.
Really, I have heard that before, and I just couldn't do the time this year. I just couldn't get over there. But I'd love to go.
You've got to. It's good.
Amazing city and amazing show. There's a lot going on that you won't have seen before. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There seems to be a few new bikes coming out as well. Suzuki are punting some new bikes out, aren't they? Is that right?
Yeah, they've got a new Naked coming out, haven't they? So that looks like a quality bike. It looks like it's going to work quite well for them, moving in the direction that most people are going, I think. So bringing the cost down a little bit from the sort of hypersports dropping the GSXR. So
yeah,
it's GSXR based.
Yeah.
Is it?
1,000. So the best bike there, I thought, was Cake.
Cake?
Have you seen Cake?
No.
So it's an enduro looking bike with a battery in it. And when I went to Deus in the city, you know, the cafes,
right?
Deus cafes. They had one on the bench there. I thought, right, now it's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at it, wow, it's cool. And then I went there, they didn't have any other bike apart from that one. They had an old like a Z750 cafe racer that they'd done up that had dust on it. Cake was, you look that up, they're really cool.
I've not heard of that before. I'll need to check that out. Like you mentioned there about dropping the Jigsaw brand. I can't believe that, because the Jigsaw is what got me into bikes. That was like my poster bike. The GSXR.
Yeah, I've had a couple of Strads, Strads in my time. Couple of 750s and a 600. So yeah, it's really sad, and I've crashed a couple as well. So yeah, as we go through this, you'll learn I crash a lot of bikes.
If you're not crashing, you're not trying. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I must be trying very hard then.
I try a lot. Yeah. Gents, do you have a refreshment of choice for the evening? Ooh, what's that? Whitstable Bay. I think I've had one of them. That's nice, that. It's very good.
Have you got more as well? Look.
Okay, nice, good effort. Come on.
I've gone mainstream with Beavertown Gamma Ray.
Right.
So,
lovely job.
Which is
here we go. These are like beer grenades. These, like, one in every 6 just blows up.
Elvis.
Yes, yeah. I've got a whole Brewdog selection.
They're not messing about.
There we go. Slange.
Are you getting a sponsorship from them soon?
No. What it is
like the World Cup.
Yeah, I wish. I did drop them a line, because the 2 lads that started Brewdog are from my neck of the woods. They're from the northeast of Scotland, and they basically, they went to school in one of the next towns along from where I am. So, and we're about the same age, and I thought there's a nice little connection there. So, sent them a little pitch, just saying, if this is the podcast, it's doing quite well. Do you want to get involved? Nothing. Never heard a peep. However, because I've been drinking Brewdog on the podcast, people keep sending me crates of it. I just get deliveries of stuff then. So thank you very much. But my garage is full of Brewdog now.
I did the same when I was racing motocross. I got drunk one night and we decided to send Red Bull an email to see if they'd sponsor our motocross team, and we were in a 2-man tent at the time on the side of a hill in Bath. So,
why wouldn't they?
They responded, we're not looking for any new riders. But you can always drink Red Bull between races, give you a pep. So
here's a crate of Red Bull. Yeah. Right, gents, can I chuck the floor open to each of you initially, just to give us a quick rundown as to who you are, your biking history, and then we can get going into the podcast, so to speak, straight from that.
Do you want to go first, Mick? You've got more to say.
Yeah, you've ridden a bike or two, have you not, Mick? Yeah.
Well, I'm not allowed to ride it, am I? I had to sit in the tea tray on the side.
You're the maniac that hangs on, aren't you?
Yeah. So the thing that I'm famous for is my dad took me to the TT on the back of a GT 750 Suzuki when I was 13, and then again when I was 17. And my next visit, I was crashing into Solby Bridge, fell out of Kerramore, So yeah, my first TT experience was as a rookie with a rookie rider, really quick on a TZ 350G on an outfit, staying in someone's house, which was odd. We were doing the BSB championship at the time, and I'd moved to Leicestershire to go racing. And then I had a break from the TT, obviously scared to death. It's a really frightening place. But I went back and won 2. And so I went back with a superstar and won it with someone had come back to racing after Grand Prix at 34 years old, Rob Fisher.
Uh-huh.
Won all this, look. That record.
Oh, look at that. How cool is that to have one of them in your house?
The other one.
Oh, brilliant.
And then when you win, we get this big. Look at that.
That's like the Oscars in the bike world, that, isn't it? Wow. Fantastic. I watched that clip that you sent me. You sent a clip on the email of some of the TT footage of you racing. Oh man, that's crazy. That just looks when the wheels coming up off the ground, skipping across the curb.
Yeah. Well,
with you on top of it.
It's also linked to the job. So I still haven't got. I mean, Ed and I haven't got a real job. It's really good fun. We're working in the motorbike industry, working with clothing, and not just selling the stuff, but helping out the customers. Mm-hmm. But in talks. We both do talks. We've done it all the way through. I've been with Motorcycle City, who were my sponsor. They were Philip McCullen's sponsor as well. They took me on a full-time job. So I run a workshop, service division, and then several motorcycle clothing shops, and then went into the trade, into manufacturing, effectively working for a distributor. And I was the Joe Rocket sponsorship manager as well with the Virgin Yamaha team. So every time they fell on the floor, then I was on the phone getting them a new suit, but also selling Rucker, Schuberth and Daytona at the time. So we've been through over 30 years. When I wrote that to you, wow. I thought, my God, 1992, I came into the trade, but just because someone let me have a job, because I was doing so much racing. If you're sidecar racing, you're not in the situation where you could do it for a living, really. So you can make a bit of money, but normally the bike swallows it, or the travel. Mm-hmm. So the same as music, really. Speak to anyone in the band, they haven't made any money, but they've gathered some money and given it back, and that's what I work for City. But they really looked after me and give me a job after I smashed my femur at Liddon. The bike ran me over, and I spent 3.5 months in hospital, airlifted out, and then decided to give up racing because I've got a 14-inch bar in my femur. Down the outside, 25 screws. So I've got a dynamic hip plate. So I had a bit of a rough time, and while I was in bed, they were saying to me, "It's fine, don't worry, come back. You can have a real job. Go to work." So
wow, they've got your back there. That's the kind of news you need behind you, don't you? And
if you're doing Scarborough Championship, TT, and BSB all at once, you can't do that on your holidays at work. Be committed.
Yeah.
Not racing at weekends in retail, that's for sure.
That's it, yeah.
So what about you then, Ed?
Much more boring, unfortunately. I started riding when I was 3. I rode a PW50. A friend of mine was doing trials when he was 3 and 4 years old. So his dad let me have a go on his PW50, and I rode it straight up a tree and it landed on me. So that's the second crash we've talked about for me so far. And as I say, my friend who lived 7 doors down the road, his dad's a pre-65 scrambler. So he's racing for the British team. And so both his sons were doing trials. That sort of got us into motorcycling. Mm-hmm. My dad rides as well. So I think on the road, we had about 40 motorbikes on my road at one point that I grew up on. So I've been around them my whole life, really. And when I was 14, I didn't want to do a paper round. So I went down the local bike shop and asked them for a job. And they let me work weekends, cash in hand, out the till, selling bike clothing. And really, that's what I still do. So that's been 27 years. So I did retail for a while, and then I followed Mick to the distributor we worked for. So Rucker, Schuberth, Daytona. Did sales in the south of England, and technical training and all the Gore-Tex training, all that side of things for those brands and other ones, of course. And then 2 years ago, I moved over to Halvarssons, where I'm country manager and part of the product development team, marketing team. and running the UK essentially. So, and Mick works with me. So we've been working. So the one thing we didn't say is we actually worked in the same bike shop in Newbury. How long ago was it? 20 years-ish, I guess.
Yeah.
So Mick was my manager at that point, and I was the weekend boy. So we've known each other quite a long time. And
now we still paid out the till.
Sorry?
So you were still paid out the till then.
Yeah, don't tell the tax man.
Exactly. Yeah,
I've earned a fortune. I think 20 years ago it'll be all right. I think.
So in terms of this podcast, I think basically we're wanting an open chat, an open discussion, really, about motorcycle clothing. I think you said you're just going to be like an open book for people's questions, answering any questions that they've got with regards to leathers, textiles. You did mention something about air vests, didn't you?
So we have opinions on airbags, but because we don't do it as a brand, and I never, I did a bit with Bearing before, so I do know a bit about static vests, but the questions will all be about the Alpine Stars Tech Air and the Denny Smart Vest.
There are a couple,
if you want me to get deep into that, that is something I am not qualified to do that well. If someone's just got an opinion question on what do I think about them, fire away.
Yeah, no worries.
And
no
Bluetooth
worries.
is the other one. Bluetooth questions, that's for somebody else.
Right. Okay then. There are a load of questions, particularly on Patreon, but there's a few over on Instagram and Facebook as well. But there's loads on the clan over on Patreon. So, are you all right if we just crack on with the questions and just see where the conversation takes us? Because they can be as random as you like.
Yeah.
Right, folks. First off, head across to the clan, patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Patrick Collum. Okay, so potentially predictable question. In recent years, I've tended to buy RST adventure gear simply because it fits well. It's regularly between AA and AAA rated. So first question, is it good quality?
So, well, first of all, about the A ratings, obviously that gives you a benchmark of where you're sitting. If you're going to buy, I'd imagine if he's buying leathers, I'm guessing, because he's saying AAA and RST don't do a AAA textiles. He must be generally talking about leathers.
Well, he's saying RST adventure gear, so I'm assuming it's going to be textile.
It must be AA. I'd have thought. I don't think they do a AAA, but that's fine.
Okay.
So RST used to be called Rhino Sport Touring a long time ago, and it was bought by Motor Direct, essentially, and they built it up into sort of a race brand when the demise of Frank Thomas sort of came about. And they really hit the market hard and went in hard with the race, sponsoring the TT, all the races on the BSB grid, if you remember those times.
Yep.
They sponsored everybody. In terms of quality, it's a good quality product at the price level it's at. So that's always the first thing to look at is where the pricing is. I think the RST brand is the sort of more budget version of the Wolf brand. So the same people behind them. The Wolf was meant to be the premium brand, and RST was meant to be the slightly more budget. But I think they've changed recently. So yeah, in terms of what they do at the price point they do it at, it's a good quality product. That's what I would say generally. Any other thoughts, Mick, on that?
Yeah, I think it depends on which part of the genres that you're talking about, because they do have a top of the range race suit when they're looking after the guys. For instance, BSB, you can buy a airbag ready, but possibly have an airbag now, £1,000 race suit, and they have a division for that. But we're aware of the fact that it's they're covering all the bases. So just say RST, it's very difficult to say, is that a quality brand? It's like saying Alpine Star, and you might have bought a city jacket and you're 100 mile an hour on the motorway. So I think it would be down to an individual product that you're looking at.
Yeah,
gotcha. Tell me all about this jacket, and is there a better one? It's
very much so. Both me and Mick also work for the sort of one of the top end brands as well, and it's a question you get all the time: is it a good quality brand? It really is picking the right jacket for the application of what you're doing with it. So if you're on a scooter riding around London on a PCX, probably a Rucker Navala is overkill.
Gotcha.
But if you're doing the touring stuff or that sort of thing, then it's the right jacket for the application. And RST do have good jackets for certain applications. So, but they also have stuff that's very, very low end as well. So it does kind of depend what you're looking at doing and what you're looking at buying. Yeah,
gotcha.
The other thing that we talk about, which is almost like a mystery to everybody, which is really handy because we can go to talks and talk about layering. So all of these products. Anything that you want to talk about, if it's a technical product that should breathe, it should be clean, and you should be wearing the correct underwear underneath it. Otherwise, it won't work anyway. So you can spend what you want, wear all the wrong stuff underneath, or wear it for the wrong application. That's when we're normally at a show not talking about our brand, listening to people moaning about other brands because they think that we'll take it on. You'll be moaning too because this is someone else's kit, and we'll put them right. When was the last time you washed it? When was the last time what do you wear underneath it? And they're, well, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it? Yeah, 100%. And
that's interesting.
I know more than most about this because we both did the trips to Gore-Tex in Edinburgh. Oh, what was the place called?
Livingston.
Mm-hmm. We took people to Livingston, and we sat in with the Gore-Tex training with the dealers. So we all had a whiskey, stayed in a hotel, took them for a day's Gore-Tex training the next day. And you're not then talking about a brand. So people really did get behind that because you're not saying, you need to buy a rucker jacket and here's all the training. It was actually, here's what Gore-Tex do. And equally Sympatex do, or Sympatex-based linings, but they don't tell anyone. Gore-Tex was, we will pay to bring you here.
Now, I want to chat about the cleaning side of things because that's, to a lot of people, it's like a daunting task, or it's just something they just won't even touch. But I know there's some questions. There's at least one question around cleaning, so I'll not bring that up now. I'll wait till we address it in a question. You mentioned there about the underwear. That wasn't something I was aware of. I wasn't aware that what you wear underneath your protective clothing has any sort of impact on it. I thought the clothing did that for you.
Yeah. There's a couple of things it does actually. It's first of all, it's a safety thing. Secondly, It's a comfort thing. So if you wear cotton, it absorbs moisture and you end up getting cold. And also it stops the breathability because it stops the warm, moist air escaping from your body, just gets trapped underneath your cotton t-shirt. So that's the sort of comfort side of it. You want to wear a man-made polyprop or an Outlast or a merino wool, something like that underneath, depending on the weather conditions.
So that's genuine.
Yeah.
I thought that was a marketing gimmick just to go and get base layers. But it's genuine, is it?
Mick's actually got a good story about that when he went to the XCR Gore-Tex launch, haven't you?
Right.
Yeah. We did so when XCR Gore-Tex came out, they took us to Spain. So they approached me working for Rucker and said, right, we're doing a launch, and this is going to be on enduro bikes. We're doing a day enduro, heavy enduro, and the next day it's on the road. So EXC 450s. Everybody was out of their comfort zone. Didn't matter who they were because they just pushed it to the point where, right, well, we're going up hills. The first thing I did was fell backwards down a hill because the guy in front of me didn't make it. Yeah. So he came down with the bike, collected me. That was a wake-up call. 5 minutes in, someone dropped a helmet off a cliff. It just went on and on all day long. It's really tough for everybody. And all the time collecting clues and whatever. But after the whole thing, road, off-road, whatever, they showed us that one of the guys was wearing cotton underwear. So they were basically videoing him and taking all the photographs of one individual so that they could prove to us that they were loading us up with water. They were telling us what to wear. We were neck to toe in the correct items. His kit looked like ours, but he was wearing cotton. He couldn't concentrate. He didn't do very well in any of the tasks. And basically, they were saying, "Look how red his face is." So he was boiling hot the whole time. He was uncomfortable, and we were in the comfort zone. And It was 20 degrees, and we were off road. And the difference was he had cotton underwear, and we didn't.
Wow!
It was that. And also this year, if I'm going away, I've been on 2 trips this year. So I've done Portugal, Spain via Santander, 2,500 miles, testing our stretch laminate suit. Didn't wear a waterproof, made sure I had mesh underwear on for the trip. When we climbed, I put on a synthetic down to regulate my jacket so I wasn't cold. They are cold because it doesn't have a lining. It's just a laminate jacket. And then I went out to Hebrides and then NC, back through Glencoe, pissing down with rain every single day. We did 9 days.
Good Scottish summer. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just June. June, horrendous.
Snowing. Yeah.
And I refused to wear a waterproof jacket over the top. All the lads that I was riding with. Then I got the real idea of the people that were wearing cotton and the wrong underwear. All the spares that I had went on to the people that were cold. Mm-hmm. And they said, wow, can't believe it. Just take all that stuff off, put this merino wool top on like a jumper, and it will stick. You've got a brand new suit on, so you're not worried about it being clogged up. And the difference was unreal. This is their holiday.
Yeah.
They've spent £1,000 or whatever to go on this trip. And they were freezing cold and
miserable.
Not funny. But once you've got the right gear on,
the other benefit, of course, is that you can wash it in the sink in the hotel, and it'll be dry by the morning.
Yeah.
So it's because it's wickable and fast drying. Then you can keep wearing that every day. So you pack less t-shirts essentially. They don't smell as bad.
Back in my sports bike days, I always wore a merino wool sort of long sleeve top under my leathers, but I always just used to wear my normal boxers. But that top, but that was mainly because I didn't really think about the science behind it. It was just that's what people did. But I knew that when I wore the long sleeve top, my jacket would come on and off easily. Otherwise, you're standing there doing the dislocate your shoulder to get your jacket off dance. So that's what I always wore. But then once I moved on to the old fat bike on the GS and I started wearing my textile suits, I just wear a t-shirt and my boxers underneath it. I've never bothered with any sort of lining.
You've got to advertise your brand though, so you've got to have the TeapotOne shirt.
Oh yeah. You're
not going to get away with it unless you keep switching in and out.
What
was that?
The trousers are the same. The trousers are the same because if you ever wear leather trousers and you're boiling hot, you need someone to help you get them on and off, don't you?
That's true. Yeah.
So EDZ and companies like that were doing it years ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're the two bits. We were always using it racing because we knew that your kit wouldn't stick to you and it would be. It wasn't because we knew that it was wicking or whatever. We just knew that it stayed dry. If you wore your Barry Sheen t-shirt underneath your leathers, it would glue to you and it would get really wet.
Yeah.
And thing is now, if we're doing a chat about this, we just say, you just look at every single sport, take what you're doing as a sport. Even rugby, when we were kids, those horrible big cotton rugby t-shirts with the collars on. They didn't work, did they? You got frozen in them. They never dried. And now
they weighed about 8 stone when they got wet. Yeah.
Right. And now you've got even the big rugby players are all wearing tech kit with a GPS in the back and what. Every sport is doing it. So I also say to people, you've already got this. Just make sure that you remember who told you, because we work for Halvarssons.
Yeah.
But the fact is, probably already in your drawer. It's everything that's dry when you take it out of the washing machine.
Yeah, it's not like super expensive. You can get it for $24.99, that sort of thing, or possibly even less. For the sort of basic level one. If you wanted merino, obviously it's more, or an Outlast or something like that, then it's more money. But the basic stuff. The other thing it will do is it will reduce skin shear. So when you crash, when your textiles grab on your skin, and it causes small abrasions on your skin, it can reduce that as well. So it's a slight safety issue as well. I mean, it's not a major one, but anything helps, I guess, when you're falling off.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as soon as you start talking about it, and well, not even explaining it, but just talking about it, it all makes sense. I feel such a Neanderthal because I just assumed, well, I chuck on my textile suit, that everything's done. I don't need to worry about what's underneath it.
You're in the majority, don't worry.
Yeah, wow, I didn't realise that.
That's so good. We've got something to talk about if we go to like the IAM. We'll have 60 to 100 people in the room.
Yeah,
guarantee that 90% of them are going, wow, I didn't understand that. I'm sorry, understood it, didn't get it. Didn't know that.
I had no idea it was that sort of important or much of an issue, what you wore underneath it. Okay.
So don't tell too many people.
Sorry, what was that you broke there?
Don't tell too many people, because obviously this is our only gimmick.
Right, got you. Keep it quiet, folks. Keep it quiet. Second, more indulgent question. The one downside... what's that? The one downside... Oh, sorry, missed out a word. The one downside with it is that every jacket, RST, Icon and Alpine Stars I have wears out on the Velcro wrists. Are there firms that have tougher wrist wear, or given the way riding is, am I just doomed to replace jackets only wearing out in one area? So, poor quality Velcro.
You got your hand up, Mick.
I would say, relative to his individual question, as opposed to Velcro itself, is if you look on, just look at the jacket. I was going to mention them, but look at the jackets. They've got another zip. So if you've got a zipper on the wrist, and you've also got Velcro, you set the Velcro to the glove and then use the zip because it's stronger. So that's something that we would look out for. And when we're getting new kit in, for instance, and we're going over it, we're like, what's good or bad about this? If it's got a zip, if you've got the Velcro that goes over the zip, then it's not as good. The zip's separate, so it sets to the glove. So in the summer, it's tighter. In the winter, with the winter gloves, it's looser. You just do that once to set it to that glove, and then the zip gets the hammer.
Okay.
So what's wrong with that jacket is the fact that it only has Velcro to do the wrist stuff.
All the Velcro goes over the zip, which is wrong.
Okay.
But there's a very easy solution, is to give Hideout Leathers a call and they'll replace your Velcro.
Yeah,
I mean, it's that's the simple solution. If he doesn't want to replace his jacket, and it'll be, I don't know how much, give him a call, but it won't be lots of money. That's a very simple operation. In fact, you could probably do it at a local seamstress if it's just a flap on the cuff, because it's not a waterproof element of the jacket. So you can probably just get anybody to put a new piece of Velcro on. If it's on it depends which way around the hook and loops are. Is the truth.
Should be. If the loops, if the hooks are on the bottom, then you're less likely to ruin the jacket as well, because it all furs up, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Where it connects to the jacket instead of the Velcro. And so get it fixed if you can do, and also burn it with a lighter, all the fluff.
Wow. Okay.
That will just continue to go and continue to connect.
Is there a reason why a manufacturer would have the Velcro the other way around then, like the wrong way? You're saying that the hooks should be on the bottom. Is there a reason why some manufacturers would put it the other way? Is that just lack of knowledge, perhaps?
Yeah, it'd be lack of care or knowledge, I would guess.
Okay.
Yeah, or the factory got it wrong and they didn't notice. Could be the other reason. So
there's a lot to already. There's a lot more to this than I thought.
If we've done 20 minutes on Velcro, it's going to be a long podcast.
Yeah. Talking about, how long do you have, James? How long have you got?
How long as you want.
Lovely. All right. Well, I've got some beers here. You've got beers. Let's crack on. Yeah. Right. Cheers for that one, Patrick. Next one, Matt Rowe Designs. My question to the lads. Would you recommend buying a pair of Kevlar-lined armoured trousers, which you can wear under any pair of jeans or trousers, or dedicated riding jeans with a Kevlar lining and armour built in? Food for thought. That's it. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Wasp's Nest, that one, with current things that have gone on YouTube over the last 6 months. But anyway, we'll ignore those for now. I'll let you guys find them yourselves.
Oh, I've missed that. Is there a bit of scandal going on, is there?
There's not scandal. There's a couple of people who've had a little argument on YouTube, a couple of people. But I'll leave that for you guys to find. Okay. But anyway, jeans. Okay, so Kevlar jeans on the inside will work perfectly because you're going to get a full Kevlar in a jean. Roka probably make a set, I think, that goes on the inside that carries the armor and you can wear underneath. I wouldn't wear them because of the comfort factor. So as usual, you've got two elements to all clothing. It's safety and comfort. So if you're not comfortable, you won't be concentrating on your riding, is the first problem. So if you've got a pair of leggings underneath with the armor and then a denim over the top of that, you've got quite a lot of material. Yeah. Protection wise, if you fall off, it'll be great. No doubt about it, because you've got full Kevlar. But in terms of walking around off the bike as well, it's going to be warm, to say the least, and quite uncomfortable and quite heavy. So personally, I would wear something, a pair of jeans that has the protection built in, but you are probably sacrificing a bit of protection. There's there's sort of two ways of making a jean with protection in, whether it's Kevlar, Aramid, whatever you're using. You can either weave the Kevlar into the denim itself, so you have a single skin, single layer jean, and you can get them up to AAA rated. Or you can have a line jean, so you've got Kevlar lining inside, stitched to the inside of the jean. That's the two ways of doing it. There's quite a lot of debate about what the best way to do it is. In terms of testing, you can get both in AAA. My head says if you're going to fall off, you want the full Kevlar lining. Okay. But the standard IC testing shows that they can both hit AAA, so it is difficult for me to quantify that and actually prove either way. It's a difficult one. You're basically deciding whether you want comfort or protection. If you want protection, you should wear leathers. That's the truth of the matter as far as I'm concerned. Okay.
So nothing in terms of protection, out and out protection. Is there nothing that is comparable in terms of protection levels as leather, whether it's kangaroo, cowhide?
Grand Prix racers are still wearing cow, aren't they?
Yeah, if you're gonna fall off, it's leather. It's a good quality leather. Again, we can get into different types of leathers. So you've obviously got kangaroo, which is lighter, cow, buffalo, You can even get leather that has a cotton laminated to the back of it to give it more structure, so it's stronger when you fall off. Right. Which is a new technology for next year that's coming out. So it makes it really light, but very strong. It hits AAA. So there's a lot of differences in leather as well. But certainly if you want the strongest thing, I think it's still leather is the truth of it. And it's going to hold the armor protection in the right place best. It's going to breathe well, all those things.
You've also got the metallic element to it, haven't you? Where if you've got a leather jean with a slider on, it doesn't dig in and do soft tissue damage to you or wear through as much. So if you put a soft material down on the road and pull your shoulder or pull your knee, you're always going towards looking like a sports rider, and they are more protective, aren't they? If you're dressed like Mick Wynn, then you're more likely to be protected. But it's a compromise. If you want full protection, get yourself a car. Get a
yeah, true. I got to admit, when I wear my leathers. Sorry, mate, go on.
It's a dangerous thing that we're doing, and it's all compromise.
Yeah,
and
definitely
as well. The hotter it is, that I've just got some friends that are just off to India, trying to work out what the hell to wear. Yeah. And it's mesh top, lightest jeans, single layer jeans, lace up boots that are C approved,
no membrane,
and leather palmed. Motocross style gloves, not motocross gloves that are not for tarmac.
Yeah.
So most of it's going to be in, they're going to be riding on stones and mud, aren't they? But
dirt roads. Yeah. Whereabouts in India are they going?
They're actually going to Sri Lanka.
Oh wow. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
Then on, for 3 weeks.
Wow. I'm just in the early stages at the moment of. Sorry, mate. Go say again.
10 on the bike, 10 on the beach.
Oh, wow! Fantastic. That sounds mega. I'm just in the early stages at the moment of tentatively looking at doing a little trip to India next year if I can. Try and do maybe a week, 10 days riding over there. So I don't know where yet, but it's just tentative, seeing whether or not I'll be able to afford it, and when I can go and when's the best time to go.
Is that taking your bike or hiring one out there?
I would look at getting a bike when I'm over there. I don't like to be one of the crowd. I don't like to be normal. Like hence why I took the Jigsaw on the world trip, was like, and I would really like to do similar in India, because I wanted to do India on the world trip, but time and money just stopped me getting there basically. So I would love to see if I could get my hands on some sort of, whether it's a Jigsaw or S1000RR or something, but I know what the practicalities are, and it's all right if it's my bike, but if you take somebody else's bike and ride it down dirt tracks, there's not going to be too much left of it when it comes back. The classic is the Enfield thing, isn't it? Yeah,
which obviously Steph Jevons does, on the Himalaya.
That's what I mean. Like everyone does that, and I don't like being just one of the mill. You know what I mean? I don't like being a sheep.
Sounds like a C90's on the cards to me.
But again, people do that as well, don't they? It would need to be something different. I don't know.
That's too standard.
It's just I just like to be different. It's got to be different. I think something that we need to address here, which is bound to be, well, it's going to come up all through the conversation, is the different safety ratings. A, AA, AAA, all that sort of stuff. Could you explain what they are to people, please?
Yeah, so before, when was it? So 94, we had a protection thing from the EU called 13595, and that was the PPE regulation for motorcycle clothing. And essentially, there was only a few things that really hit that standard. So Brian over at BKS was making leathers for the police with 13595. Hideout did a set. Clover made a set, and a few other people, but it was extremely heavy and extremely stiff, but very protective. And
Halvarssons made one as well.
And Halvarssons, of course, they made the safety vest. Yeah. But what happened was that because the only thing in the EU and the UK that's mandatory is helmets. The only thing you have to wear is a helmet. So that was the only thing that had an official a CE standard that you had to abide by, essentially, or a BS standard before that. So a few years ago, the main manufacturers, well, not manufacturers, the main countries and some heads of some of the main manufacturers got their heads together and had a big argument about what the CE standard should be for motorcycle clothing. I mean, I can go through some examples that I'd probably get in trouble for going through about stuff that just fell apart when you fell off in it. In the old days, the jacket, you could literally pull the arm off it with your own hands. Because there's you could just take the whole arm off by pulling it apart in the shop. So there had to be a way of standardizing things and making sure customers were getting the right protection. And you're still getting people selling stuff that isn't CE approved on the market out there. That you have no idea what the standard is on it. I saw a pair of gloves recently you can rip in half with your hands easily. That is selling on the market, but they're not CE approved. So there had to be a standard come in. And what they came up with was a system of A ratings and then B and C ratings. I think it's B and C, which is 17092 is the new CE standard. So AAA is, I won't go through all the testing procedure because it's really dull and you can look it up yourselves. But essentially they drop a piece of material on a Darmstadt machine, which is a spinning machine of concrete, and then it records a time. Some people call this a slide time, but it's not strictly speaking a slide time, but it's difficult to know. So AAA is high, should we say enthusiastic road riding? I think that's a fair way of putting it. For enthusiastic road riding, then you had AA, which is for commuter tourers. Then you had single A, which was for city riding. B is for Under Armour protective shirts. So when you've got the protection built into an undershirt. And then C, I think, is just for base layers and things like that. So with no armor and no protection. So in theory, a AAA product will be the most protective of all of them. It's tested in more areas for a higher abrasion resistance, a higher seam strength, and all those things. So in theory, if you're buying a AAA product, it should be more protective than a AA product. Now, the caveat to that, can you tell I talk very quickly? The caveat to that is as a manufacturer, you have to make a decision. So you make a jacket, you send it into the test center for testing. You don't just send it in and say, what does this hit? You have to specify what you think it'll hit. So you have to say this is a AAA jacket. If it doesn't hit AAA, you then have to resubmit it for a AA. And that can get very, very expensive.
Oh, wow.
So in terms of, as a manufacturer, from a financial point of view, you have to make a decision whether you just want to get stuff through, put it through at A because it'll pass, or whether you want to try and hit the highest standard you can. And that's why you'll see stuff that you would assume would be a AAA or a AA showing an A, because the manufacturer's decided, I'm just going to put it through an A because I need to get it through the test, guaranteed. So it's still a bit of a minefield out there, what's going on with it. We're very lucky that the guy who decides ours is part of the board that makes the standards. Right. So he's very, very much on the case with it and kind of knows exactly what our products will hit and won't hit and how to get those standards. So that's kind of the way it is. The old standard, the 13595 standard, it was definitely harder to hit, but it was a professional riding standard. So it was for police and people like that, not so much consumers. If everything was tested to that standard, you'd all hate your motorcycle kit. It was extremely heavy, hard to wear. You wouldn't wear it on a scooter, for example. Gotcha. It wouldn't be viable. So people that are saying the new standard is not as good as the old standard, it's just a different way of doing it, really. Yeah. Trying to keep it for the masses as opposed to just the people that have got £2,000 to spend on a BKS suit. Yeah, got you.
So the new standard is more budget and end use. What's the word? Consumer. Yeah, it's exactly, yeah. So depending on what you're intending to use that kit for, there's going to be an A rating, which is best suited to that. That's right. So is the A rating, is that what people talk about when they say the slide rating? Because I was starting to think, there are two different measurements here.
Slide times are difficult.
The A rating is an urban rating. It's down to speed on the road, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. A rating you wouldn't really want to go heavy touring in. The reason being is because you can't really crash in it at speed. So it's tested to those abilities to maybe, let's say, 50 mile an hour. The other thing to add to this is that you don't have, generally in the UK, unless the distributor has decided to, you don't have a back protector in the product. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why haven't I got a back protector in it? Because if it's a decent manufacturer, you've got the adjustability to use an airbag, to use a protector that's actually attached to your body instead of your coat. So if you jump over handlebars at 50 mile an hour, you've bought your jacket on eBay and no one fitted it out for you and it's 2 sizes too big. Even if there's a little back protector in it, it's going to be underneath your armpit when you hit the curb. So ideally, you have the same back protector as Rossi's got on, attached to your body with your little chest protector in, and it's nothing to do with the suit. But you always got those options. So then you've got the levels in the back protection as well. So then you've got a level 1 and level 2, and then they're T+ or T-. So they've been tested again for the cold and for the heat. So that's something that not a lot of people know about.
Yeah, there's quite a lot on armor standards that is misunderstood as well. It's a bit of a long one as well, unfortunately. But
on armor,
armor and protection standards and things like that. There's a specific armor standard now, which is 1621-1 for, I can't remember what they are, -1 for back protectors, -1 for limb protectors, -2 for back protectors.
Right.
And then you can have level 1 and 2. So if you look at an armor standard, which you can find on the label of everything, it's a little white label with a picture of a motorbike on it. Then it'll have level 1 or 2 in a little box below it. 2 basically takes twice as much impact as 1. And then it'll have a T+ and a T- after that. If it doesn't have those, so what T+ does, T+ and T-, T+ means it's been tested at high temperature. T- means it's been tested at low temperature, but they're voluntary standards for the manufacturers. So you don't have to put them in for those. The problem is that a lot of protectors will fail at high temperatures because they go soft and then they transmit all the shock to your body.
Yeah.
The problem is if you put it in for the T+ and it only hits level 1, you've got to call it a level 1. Whereas if you don't put it in for that and it's level 2 ambient, then you can call it a level 2 protector. So it's always worth taking the armor out and actually checking the armor standard on the armor and seeing if it's got those 2 things, especially if you're touring and going through high and low temperatures. I have got one here, but it's hard to show you.
If you go somewhere where it's warm, so even 25, 30 degrees, and the sun's beating on your back, you are on high temperatures because it's inside your kit and you're sweating into it.
Yeah.
It's nice to have an Airtex back protector as well because it's just a solid lump on your back. So whatever you've read about your super duper jacket and the underwear, it doesn't work because there's no breathability through the back protector. But you've still got some, you're not thinking, well, I won't wear one then because I'll be more comfortable. Because not if you have an off. And it then needs to be the right length of your actual back, not just go in a little hatch, which is why the manufacturer we work for has got a piece of Velcro on the back of it and you can move it where you like.
Depending on you.
You know where they knock you in the neck because you've got an upright bike and it's hitting your helmet, or you can move it up and down too. And different sizes to match your back.
I was going to ask there, when you're talking about the T+ and T-, I was going to ask about what would be regarded as a high temperature and what would be regarded as a cold temperature, but you've answered that there, Mick.
Is it tested to +40?
I think it's +40 and -12, I think. -12. I really struggle to remember them.
I think if it's -12, you're in trouble.
Well, I was just going to say, I know I'll go out. I've been out riding at like -15 because I had to. I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't know many people that would be out there riding a bike in -12, -10.
The reason is because of wind chill.
Yeah,
that's what does it, because that takes 20 degrees off sometimes. So you can easily get down to those temperatures. So that's why. I've got a really fairly good picture of it there. That's the armor standard. So see the T+ and T-.
Yeah.
You can look for that on any of your protectors and any of your jackets. And if it hasn't got that on it, you're really in trouble. I'll go and speak to your retailer urgently.
Sorry, Mick, what were you saying there, pal?
Yeah, I was just saying that your shoulder armor is likely to get down to that, isn't it? Because it's actually getting the wind pressure on the back behind you, isn't it? So you're definitely going to get colder here. As soon as your core gets cold, then you're in trouble, which is why we're talking about wearing down jackets as well. You just lose your concentration.
Absolutely. And as you said there, Ed, about wind chill, you'd be surprised, folks, at how easy it is to get to like 0 or below, well below temperatures. It might be 5 degrees out there, but if you're doing 60, 70, 80 mile an hour, there's a considerable amount of wind chill that gets added to that. And it's going to be bloody cold.
It used to be a chart
on the outside.
Yes, Gore used to do one.
Was it called Windstopper? Yeah, they did a little chart that if you're at this speed, this is actually the temperature that you're at.
Yeah, I remember. Sorry, mate. There's a wee delay on these Zoom calls, mate. So we always end up chatting over each other. Sorry, man. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was just saying about that little chart. We need to bring that back. That was really interesting. If people are running in the winter, If you're at 0, it's minus 15 or something at 70 mile an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Because I have this fact from the world trip when I was in Canada. We got hit by I teamed up with this other guy because it was so cold, and for about 3, 4, 5 days we had this really bad weather front hit. It was like April, May time, but I remember it got to minus 38 when we were riding across with wind chill. So it was it was like minus 5, minus 6, something like that. But at speed with what we were doing, we sort of Googled it and it was minus 38 was the equivalent of riding in it. It's like, bloody hell, no wonder it was Baltic. And I was literally in leathers. I was wearing leathers on the jigsaw. That was it.
One way of being able to tell about your armour is that sort of prove the point is if you leave it in the garage overnight and you try and put your jacket on and it's really stiff. So it just shows you how much the molecular sort of structure of it can change. So if you leave your back protector in the garage and try and fold it in the winter, it'll just snap in half.
That's right.
Work. So so it's always worth just checking those labels.
It was interesting, Mick, what you were saying about sizing as well with the armour, because I was over at Roadskin at Tunbridge Wells recently doing a little chat with them, and they have some jeans out. And my problem with motorbike jeans is that they're almost like skinny fit. You know, they always seem to be made for the people out there with skinny legs, and I've got rugby player legs. I've got big thighs and big calves and a fat gut as well. But theirs were okay, but I still found them really tight around the calves. So I was saying to them, I don't suppose, do you do like a baggy fit, a loose fit? Because that's the sort of jeans I like my normal jeans. And he said to me, well, you need to watch that, because if you have loose fit, then there's so much room for the armour to move and if you were to come off. And then the armour's not where it should be. You're just going to end up getting hurt. I hadn't even thought about that. My Luddite brain just didn't comprehend any of that initially.
Well, if you initially hit the floor, then they're probably in the right place because you were sat down. So if you went through the screen and over the handlebars and bang your legs on the floor, like if you ride, you're in this industry and you ride a motorbike, you'll understand. But then if you scrape your legs on the floor, it'll turn the jean round. And then again, when I'm talking about things like curbs, that's the next thing coming at you. Yeah. You're not going to get the second hit. The armour will take it, or most of the molecular armour now it's not got that kind of plastic inside it. It's not ruined. It doesn't take one hit. But if it's not in the right place, it doesn't work.
It's not going to do the job. Yeah.
Nope.
Interesting.
It'll cut off you anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sadly, it does, doesn't it? No. Next one, Stu L. Hi to you all. Hope these questions find you fitting well. My first question: what do you think has been the one best improvement or invention in the motorcycle safety clothing in the last 20 years?
20?
Yep. Discuss.
I mean, you've probably got to say it's the airbag, haven't you? I would say for most, it's such a good invention that works so well now and is actually usable. It's got to be that, I think, because helmets haven't progressed that far in the last 20 years. Really, you're still using the same sort of structure of the EPS with the hard shell over the outside. Protectors have moved on. They're much softer than they used to be. They used to be very hard, and now they absorb a lot more shocks. They're very good, but really, I think the biggest has got to be the airbag protector.
Yeah,
it does work so well. I remember when we first started selling them, people said, well, "What if it doesn't go off?" Yeah. Well, you've still got the protectors. You haven't lost out if it doesn't go off. Yeah. But now it goes off. 99% of the time they just work. So I think it's got to be
one of the best illustrations of how good airbag technology has got to be the Marquez high side, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, that was 200 mile an hour or something. He was near enough 200 miles an hour, and he thumped. Was it 27 Gs or 26 Gs? He hit the ground with the equivalent force, and he got up and walked away from it. I mean, all right, he's pretty fucked from it, but you'd be dead normally, wouldn't you?
Once, wouldn't it? He'd have got a bit more hurt, wouldn't he? Back.
I mean, if you look at Quartararo's one as well the other week, where it went off and his leathers actually opened, that he'd arguably been dead.
Did you hear this week? They were. I read this week that they were saying that there won't be an opening at the front of the leathers next season.
Oh, really?
Because of that? Because of what happened?
Yeah, because of that burst. So I don't know how they're going to do that, but that's what I read. is that there won't be an opening at the front.
Wow.
But Quattraro is one of those people that he's got a chest protector in, but he never wears any underwear at all, does he? And he's skinned himself.
It's bare-chested, yeah.
But, that doesn't, it still would be, wouldn't it? But, there's the zip burst. He's had the zip come undone. He undid his own zip to take the chest protector out, throw it away and try and do the zip up again, didn't he? I think he had a pit.
Yeah, that's right. There was footage of it, wasn't there? Yeah.
I didn't. Going back to innovation, really simple innovation in the last, say, 20 years, is a drop-down visor. And there's a lot of, is that actually safe because there's a gap or what? But we used to have to change them from black to clear, didn't we? And there were people at night that were driven into a wall with a black visor on and were no more. So, just to flick that down, safety-wise, you can't see. You've got a clear visor, you might have scratches on it. A car comes towards you, you can't see in the dark. It's black. Yeah. You just lifted it up, didn't you, and squinted.
That's exactly what I do. I wear a dark visor all the time, and people always ask in comments like, "How do you see at night wearing that?" And it's something I've always done. But when it does get really dark, I just flip the visor up, and you literally ride like that, don't you? And just pray nothing hits you in the eye. But
that's the old school. I've got an RI and I changed my visor, and I had to learn to change the new one, which is really tough, I think. But
why are RI so difficult with the visors? I can't buy an RI because I'm just like,
they were really easy, made lots of noise, and they were before. Now they've made a new. I just can't. I can't get mad. I can do it, but I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
I need a lesson.
It's at the TT. How do they do it so quick at the TT? It's like. Well, my mates, I remember when some mates of mine bought RI helmets, and to a man, when it came time to change visors, they just snapped the pod, the pod bits at the end of the visor. You have to take them off, don't you? And then the visor come off. They would just snap. So it was just like they just never bothered changing the visor anymore.
In the old days, you used to be able to just grab the visor and rip it off on an RI. It was really easy once you were confident with it. It was really easy.
Yeah.
You had to be really confident to do it. The other innovation,
man.
It's good. It's good as anything. Can't go wrong. The other innovation stuff really is there's a lot of textile innovation in terms of exterior materials and more abrasion resistance, all that sort of thing. So super fabric, which is little ceramic guard plates on the exterior of products, which allow you to slide better. You've got Armor Core on which is a Gore product, which is a Kevlar overweave high art, which we use, which is a sort of terry cloth material that goes underneath, which increases the abrasion resistance. There's all these sort of things that have come along, but they're all sort of small iterations, sort of like a Volkswagen Golf. It just gets a little bit better every time. I said the drop down sun visor is obviously good for that sort of thing, but none of us three wear them. But that's you might have one, haven't you, in your ADV, maybe?
There's not one in the shoey. There's no. They're two shoey lids. I just like the Hornet. I like the adventure look. To be honest, I used to wear that on the sports bike. I was one of those dickheads. But I just like shoeys. They fit my head, and that's the lid I always go for. Something that popped in my mind was I remember when Knox. Remember the Handroids? The Knox Handroids came on the scene, and they had that scaphoid protection, and you looked like RoboCop, didn't you, with this glove on? But I had some mates that raced, and they started wearing the first Handroids when they came out, and I remember one of them had a big off, and he said, from his perspective, he definitely felt like that. It's like a slider that you had down. Was it a slider down on the palm there? He said that he reckons he definitely would have broke his wrist if he didn't have that on it. And you see them on the road all the time now, don't you? Like loads of road riders. I used to wear Handroids. I literally wore them till they fell apart. I thought they were great. So little things like that. Maybe not so much shoulder sliders for the road, but
it's the same. It's a similar situation. You just keep the body moving and don't stop it suddenly because it sets the energy. I've got a friend that crashed the Lambretta teaching to ride one, really, but it was very slow, 10 mile an hour. Someone darted out in front of him. He put his hand on the floor and he broke his scaphoid, and on the ulnar, he broke the top and the bottom joint. So he had 3 months off work. And
10 miles an hour?
Yeah, just so like a push bike crash. He put his full force of his body through his hand that stuck to the road because he insisted on always wearing waterproof gloves, so he just had one, and they were just, normal leather. So this always used to happen, but the technology has moved on, hasn't it? So you got the skateboard protector. I was telling him about it and just saying, look, just get 2, maybe 3 pairs of gloves. You do have to spend some money, I imagine, but you're going to keep them for a decade to get some racers, which he did when he busted his arm. He's got racer gloves from Austria. They've got the protection on and on the outside. So now he's done it. And there's 2 ways to learn, isn't there? Well, if you're in a broken leg, if someone says, look, give me 500 quid and I'll give you the proper trousers to wear and they fit you, you give them the money, wouldn't you? These guys are just doing it afterwards. Oh, I've broken that. I'll now protect it.
Yeah. It does make me laugh sometimes when people go, what is the cheapest lead I can buy that passes the basic safety sort of standards? And I'm just like, I mean, if there's one bit of kit where I'll spend money, it's on my lid, surely. You've got to get a bit. I had a Shoei Xspirit. Was it Xspirit 1, the first Xspirit? Or it might have been 2. No, it was 1. It was the first Xspirit, Shoei Xspirit. And I was in Germany before I went away on the big trip. 2011 it was. I had a massive off. My own fault. I was riding like a complete cock. And I hit the curb. I had a low side going around the corner and I slid along on my back in my leathers and my head smashed into the curb and I basically just like a barrel round went up in the air and off the side of the mountain and I should have died, ended up in some trees. But my lid, when my mates got hold of my lid, it was like someone had taken an axe to it. It was cut from inside. It was cut from here to the crown, just totally split like that. But I felt all right. I was a wee bit dizzy, but I felt okay. And you're like, if you didn't have that standard of protection on your head, you'd definitely be dead. Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. So I will always spend my money on that.
EC 2205, now 2206, which is the helmet standard, is I
bet you're fun at parties,
really
aren't you,
fun, yeah. I have to know these things.
Hello.
That's why I say it, because I know Mick doesn't know the numbers, so I have to say it.
Excuse me for interrupting, folks, but it is sponsor shout-out time. And this month, we have a new sponsor. Welcome to Travel Escapes. Now, I've got some blurb to read out. Travel and Escape is an independent travel agent. They are ABTA and ATOL protected for your peace of mind. For hassle-free, tailor-made holidays from staycations, day experiences, cruises, luxury holidays, and so much more. You can find them all on the socials or book directly online using the link. Now, folks, I'll leave all their socials and the website link down below. Make sure you check that out. If you're watching a video, have a look at the description. If you're listening to the podcast, check out the show notes. There will be hyperlinks there. Make sure you give them a click, a follow, a like. And if you're looking for a little break for you and the loved one, you and the family, you and whoever, maybe just you yourself, make sure you check out Travel and Escape. We are also sponsored by Innov. Now, Innov have been a long-term sponsor for the main channel over on TeapotOne, but they're also helping out and sponsoring the podcast. So a massive thanks to them. Innov specialise in motorcycle dash cam systems. They do the front and rear dual camera K series. That's the K3 and the flagship K5. K3 is 1080 front and rear. K5 is 4K at the front, 1080 at the rear. The K5 also has much faster Wi-Fi. So both the K3 and K5 utilize a mobile app where you can view your footage, you can change settings, you can share on socials, you can have a look at your GPS overlay, all this sort of stuff. Both do the job if you just simply want a dash cam. If you ever get involved in an accident, the first thing your insurance is going to ask is there any CCTV? And obviously, if you have one of these systems fitted, then you can turn around and go, yes, I do. And if you head to innov.co.uk and use the code TEAPOT, you'll get 5% off of all Innov and Technologic cameras. So a massive thanks to Innov. And lastly for this one, we're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they make dustproof and shockproof mobile phone cases and action camera mounts. They will fit just about every single bike out there. Me personally, I always use the Helix strap mount because it means I can easily attach that to just about any bike that I'm riding at that time. I can jump on and off bikes and just easily unscrew the strap, whack it on the next bike, tighten it all up, and off I go. It's very versatile. versatile. I've had no vibration issues affecting my camera using the Helix strap. That's the one that I will stand by and swear by. Been using it about 5 years now. So again, if you head to Ultimate Add-ons, that's Ultimate with ADDONS, ultimateaddons.com. If you use the code TeapotOne10, so TeapotOne with the number 10, you'll get 10% off all Ultimate Add-ons. Okay, that'll do us for now. Let's get back to the podcast.
The helmet standards, we always used to say it's just an MOT.
Yeah.
It's just like an MOT on your car or your bike. It doesn't make it a Ferrari.
Okay.
It's the very basic passing procedure. I think 2206 is better now, but certainly 2205 was, a pretty basic pass, really. I mean, there were loopholes in it that manufacturers could look into and really build their helmets around the standard. So there were areas of the helmet, if you landed on them, you'd be in trouble. But when you're buying a proper brand like Schuberth, Shoei, Arai, whatever, they are testing so far above those standards that you're getting a much better quality product. If you buy a £50 helmet, that isn't costing much to manufacture. So they're not testing past any standards. It's just about hitting it normally.
Gotcha.
So that's what I'd say.
Have you heard of the helmet inspection company, Martin Sloy?
I've watched your podcast on them.
Yeah, that was really interesting having him on. I've had a lot of people who, particularly from the clan, from my Patreon, who've used it. They've sent their what they thought was an old typical bikers, isn't it? It's like, do I spend another 400 or 500 quid, or can I get another season out of this? And they've sent that up, and it's come back either yes or no, and they're full of glowing reports on it. And said, yeah, great. It's either all right, it's made me go and spend the money to get a new lid, or happy days, I can get another year out of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get sued or anything, but I've always basically said, if it falls off, your bike because you put it on the seat, like he said in his, that's why he started the company or whatever it was. The likelihood of that helmet being okay is quite high because you haven't got your head inside it hitting the EPS and then condensing the EPS. So the shell and the EPS is probably going to be okay. If you fall off with your head in it and hit your head then decelerates into EPS, condenses the EPS down, and then you're probably in trouble. So really, when your head's in it, that's when there's going to be a problem. But don't quote me on that. I'll say I took the bloke on the podcast told me it was okay. But
Martin will be down at your house before you do it.
Yeah. So
that's one of the worrying things as a retailer was the fact that people used to come in and say my helmet's all right because it's polycarbonate and it wasn't split. But that's relative, isn't it? Is the EPS underneath has already taken the hammer and it's flat and it's now not got any bounce value to it. And if they took the outside of a fiber helmet, it had a split on it, so it was obvious. Well, this is fine. Look at the outside. So you turn it inside out, and then feel it, and it was all soft inside, so you could feel the soft areas exactly where they'd hit their head. Yeah. And basically, if you've got that kind of helmet and you spend a couple of £100 on it, you really find it difficult to fix your head. I mean, my leg was next to my head. I broke my femur that bad. I could see the bottom of my shoe. It had
no!
But it's back, it's fixed, and I can run. But if I did that kind of damage to my skull, I'd be in trouble, wouldn't I?
Yeah, granted.
So
well,
I think
some people would be all right, but
spend the money. Look at the spec.
Keep it light, Mick. Keep it light.
Right, Stu's got a second question. What are your thoughts on air vests for normal road riding? Get one built into a jacket, over the jacket, or under the jacket, or get decent armor instead? Well, this is going to be topical.
Well, someone was in the paper this week as saved a policeman's life, and there was an external one, wasn't it? Helite.
I've got one of the Helite e-vests. Yeah, they've given me one to try.
So that's an external.
Yes. Yeah, I wear that over. I wear a rucksack over the top of it as well, because I always wear a rucksack. I just always have done. So I was a bit reticent about getting it because I thought I won't be able to wear the rucksack. But they were like, no, you can. You just have to loosen the rucksack off, but you can still wear one over the top. So that's what I do.
So that had some really good press this week because they were in the don't use oil protests. There were two slow moving trucks that had crashed into each other and took out a police biker. Wow. And I think he'd ended up in the barriers, and they said he was wearing a hideout suit and a Helite airbag, and they said it definitely saved his life.
Really?
But yeah, I think it can't be a bad idea. It's a bloody good idea, and you just work out what you want to wear.
Yeah, I think airbag wise, if you in terms of which spec you're going to go for, obviously the E-Vest is the non-wired one, right?
That's right. Yeah, you're not tethered to the bike.
Yeah. So that's obviously the better way of doing it. It's a bit more faff because you got to make sure it's charged and everything. Obviously, is the negative and updated and all that sort of stuff. And some of them have subscriptions even that you've got to pay every month. That's
really?
Some of them. Some of the ones do. Some of them don't. And but I would say whichever one you go for, it kind of depends on whether you want to buy a new jacket or not. If you've got a stiff jacket that fits you tight, you can't put one underneath. So go for one over the top. If you've got a jacket that has stretch in it, that allows for an airbag to go underneath, put one underneath, because then you've got your jacket over the top with all the reflective bits and the abrasion resistant material and all that sort of thing on the outside as well. So it really depends what jacket you've got and whether you want to buy a new one. So I don't want to turn it into a sales thing, but we have got a couple of jackets now. Our parent company is the distributor for Halvarssons in the Nordics. So we've developed our jacket to work with some airbag vests underneath it. So we've actually got a few jackets that have enough stretch in to allow the airbag to go off underneath now.
Wow.
Built into it, airbag ready jackets. So about 3 or 4 of the ones behind me are airbag ready now. So, and I think more manufacturers will go that way so that they can accommodate an airbag underneath it, which gives you more choice.
I was away to ask that, like, where do you see this going in terms of the majority of bike kit out there? Is it all going to start being accommodating for the likes of air vests? Because the prices are all coming down for air vests. They used to be, I mean, there's still a lot of money. The Halite, I think, is still 500-600 quid, I think, for the E version. Maybe it might not even be that much, but it's a chunk of change. It's a fair chunk of cash. But they used to be just unreachable for normal everyday riders, didn't they? The airbags were the domain of the big racers. Yeah,
I think it's going to go. What will happen is you've got a few manufacturers. So you've got Halvarssons, Dainese, obviously, have all the feedback from racing. So they can work out the algorithms. They've been doing it. I can't imagine how long Halvarssons has been. It must be 15 years they've been working on it. Weirdly, I think it was a Scottish guy that was over there when I went over there showing us it. Anyway, right. So the story. But so they've been working on it for a long time and they've got all the racers crashing. So they've got all the information. Yeah. So then you've got a company called InMotion who does a lot of the electronics for all the other brands, really. I don't know who he uses off the top of my head. I'd have to check. So what will happen is you'll either use one of these third-party companies to make your vest for you, or you'll have the top race team ones because they have the information of crashing.
Yeah.
So all the other brands, including our one, will build jackets around the stuff that's on the market is probably the way it'll go. And then in terms of whether you have to wear one on the road or not, which is everyone's concern because, free country and all that sort of thing. That depends on the insurance companies, I would guess.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say that's all in the hands of the insurance companies because I don't think the politicians will get involved in that side of things. So
the other thing is pushed by the retailers. If you look at the way that it's going at the moment, you've got fewer and fewer retailers based on the fact that, how much does it cost to open up a store? And then you've got to be really good at it. And there are groups and with well-trained staff. If they decide to put 5 on the road with every size on, and that individual that's selling you a £2,000 suit because now the average age of a biker is 50 odd upwards, they've got the money if they want to be. If you can convince them that this is what they need and to stay safe, and it's not too much of a fact. So if it is becoming easier to use, more user friendly, then I don't think the money's got anything to do with it. I think people are still going to spend £1,500 on the best suit, and equally, maybe at the £500 market, if you've got 350 quid to protect yourself, it's the same as saying, well, would I buy a £700 helmet or would I buy a £200 helmet? You're definitely going to be safer if you're wearing an airbag, but it's down to the specialist that's flogging it to you. If the guy's not interested in it and didn't even show you one and they're out the back, there's going to be fewer people in them.
Yeah. But I mean, you will always get people who want everything for nothing, just like you get people who think nothing of spending a couple of grand. You always get that. And what I've found is it doesn't really have much to do with somebody's like status or financial income. It's just people just have they're either people that will spend money or they're people that won't spend money, whether they've got £1 million or 4 quid in the bank.
Money on that. So but we see it where they've got a £25,000 bike and the kit until they crash, and then they come and say, right, what do I wear?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or they go on a trip and it rains every day and they get wet for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
After them.
I've got to admit that is the reason. I went with the competition. I bought a Rucker jacket, the Navala jacket, purely because I used to be in the Old Bill, obviously, and all my mates in the Old Bill were all rucked up and they were all ranting and raving about Rucker. And I was like, forget that. I'm wearing my leather suit. That's all I'm going to wear. So we'd go away on trips and I would get boiling hot, freezing cold, soaking wet. But I didn't care because I am not putting on a Rucker suit, so forget that. Well, then I saw that Infinity were doing 0%. So it's like, well, okay, what is it, 70 odd quid a month? Okay, I can get one of these $2,000 bloody suits. So I did, I got it. And when you spend money on decent kit, the difference is phenomenal, isn't it? It really is incredible.
So that suit's an interesting one because it's their best-selling suit ever.
Is it?
Because it's stretchy. So the fit is so good and it's so comfortable.
Yeah.
So it's by far their best-selling suit. It's fantastic. It's a great suit.
Do you know what I think is the best thing ever about that suit? Is the down jacket that comes with it. It's amazing.
You've got a synthetic down underneath it. Because down X in it.
Yeah.
But you've still got to stop wearing your cotton t-shirt and then it'll be even better.
Right. I'm going to have to go out and get myself some base layers. Right. Well, that down jacket is awesome until your idiot dog jumps up and takes a claw or paw down it and opens it up. So I've now got this lovely Rucker puffer jacket with gaffer tape all down one arm.
With that jacket, you've got 2 little zips around the sleeve and you can tuck the sleeves inside and there's a little pocket for it to sit in so you can turn it into a gilet.
No, I didn't know that.
Whoa. No one knows. It's a little secret that no one told anyone.
I saw the little zips and thought, what is that? Is that some weird European styling? What is it?
If you look inside the jacket in here, there's 2 little pockets and that's where the arms sit in so you can wear it as a gilet.
I never knew that.
No one knows, as I say.
Then it won't look like your dog's attacked it.
Yeah.
Or you can buy a new one for £200 or whatever they are now.
Yeah, I know I'm a YouTuber, but I haven't found these YouTube millions yet. I'll tell you that.
They're on the way. Sure.
Yeah, I hope so. One day, maybe. Right, nice one. Cheers to that, Stu. Next one, Reverend Al. Hi, guys. I work selling motorcycle clothing and gear for a big retail company. This encompasses the full range of gear to suit everyone's budget. Most UK guys are longer in the body and shorter in the legs, but most regular length trousers are too long and most jackets sit about 2 to 3 inches too short. Larger sizes for guys that have fuller figure are difficult in the better quality gear unless it's Rucker generally. Is this because it's made in the Far East or just economy in manufacture?
It's a decision that's made at the manufacturer level. It's not to the economy or that sort of thing. It's a really difficult one. I mean, that sounds like one of our retailers that we deal with writing in because he bangs on about short legs every day to Mick, doesn't he? He's one of Mick's best friends as well. So he's always banging on about short legs.
But we get it all the time.
We get it all the time, yeah.
They're now we're banging onto our manufacturers and everyone that I've ever worked for because I'm only 5'8" and I have got 30 inside legs, so I'm not like the guys that are 28, but I'm still in that margin. I put leg jean on and they fit me perfectly. Yeah. And it's a safety thing. If you think, I'd be all right. When I sit on the bike and my knee armor's in the correct area, it's not. Yeah. Because if you jump off and they get pulled, they're in the wrong place. Again, you hit the curb. So I would suggest that it's not that there isn't a small amount of manufacturers that do short leg. You just got to look for them. You got to ask. We generally won't really be selling a specific jean if it doesn't come in a short leg because the dealers either want short leg only or both. Mm-hmm. So it is a good. It's not kind of oh god, there's a whinging guy. It's actually true.
He's absolutely bang on. I mean, we're about 50-50, I would say, is in the UK, short and standard legs. It's about 50-50. Yeah, so it is important. But if you look at the Dutch, Belgian, a lot of the Nordics manufacturers, they're all very tall people. I mean, if you've ever been to a Dutch airport, you feel like a hobbit looking around there. And I'm 5'11", and I feel tiny out there. So, so they're making longer stuff. I don't know what the Italians' excuse is. But
Spiddy leathers. I mean, like I had a TV show. Sorry to interrupt. Apologies. Right. I had a TV show gig last year, and we got the show was sponsored by Ferridax. So, basically we were invited in and you had to pick like a track set of kit, a touring set of kit, and a casual set of kit. And it was like, this is the best supermarket sweep ever. So straight in, like speedy leathers, I was like, yes, finally, I'm going to get myself a one-piece leather suit, proper one. Not a chance. I'm a 52 chest, 6'3", not a hope. Just no. Speedy, no, didn't fit. I was like, oh, great. Magic, thanks. They used to do bigger sizes, but they've stopped. They've stopped doing them now.
It's such a small market. The race suit market is so small. So they've got to cut their costs, I would imagine. That's what that is.
I can just about shoehorn myself into I've got a Spiddy from about 4 years ago that I bought, and I could just squeeze into that if for a track day, but they don't do them anymore. So yeah.
RS2 were doing made to measure, weren't they, recently for customers? They opened their race service up for the customers. I think it was about £1,500, something like that. For the suit, I think it was. So that might be a bit tough for some people to swallow for a couple of track days a year as well. But the other thing to be careful with clothing sizing is that the Northern Europeans and the Southern Europeans take a different measurement. So you really do have to try it on. You can't just say I'm a 52 or a 50 chest or whatever it is. You have to actually go and try the jackets on, because the Italian stuff take a lower measurement than the Northern Europeans. So it doesn't fit the same. So that's one reason it won't ever fit. So when you look at a Ruck or a Halvarssons size, a 50 will be quite big, whereas an Italian will be slightly smaller than that. So you have to be a bit careful with that. But yeah, in terms of short legs, we're absolutely on the same page as you. The guy wrote in. I'd love to know who that is now, because I bet we know him from somewhere.
He's just known as Reverend Al.
Oh. We'll find out.
Yeah, I was going to say, just bang that name around and see.
We do every gene we do in a short leg and a standard, and some in a long as well. It's normally about 7 centimeters difference between a standard and a short leg. But most retailers are just going to stock one or the other and then order the other ones in for you. So it's always worth speaking to the guys behind the counter and saying, is there a short leg version in this? And then you can work out whether it's going to fit you once you've tried the standard on, because the fit otherwise will be pretty much the same. So try the standard or the short, wherever they've got on, see what the difference is, how much you need off and on, and go from there. Ours has got adjustable armor in as well, and some other manufacturers have got 2 or 3 different pockets. So again, when you try it on, check the inside to see if you can move the armor to get it in the right place as well. So there's lots of these little things that if you're buying online, which obviously a lot of people do now, you might never know there's a pocket for armor to move. You might just put them on and go, they don't fit. So it's just worth speaking.
You just do stuff that doesn't fit.
Or you just wear it anyway.
And you're just going, well, whatever. I'll just lift them up a bit, which is thing. We want specialists. We want people to have to go to shops to be kitted out.
Yeah, definitely. I did a thing on my channel about getting fitted for a lid for the lid, and I did it with Sports Bike Shop, purely because so many people just go to a shop, get the size, don't buy it, go online. That's it. Buy it online, don't they? But it was like you get so much more if you go to a shop that's got properly trained staff in it. So I went there and was like properly fitted for the lid. And it's totally different than if I just walked into a shop, I would be like, put the lid on, do that. This will do me. That's fine. Job done. But, they were looking at all different things, the fit, how it looked from them looking at me. They could tell if the lid fit properly. I don't know. It was really quite... enlightening, I think the word is.
Most people buy them slightly too big.
Yeah.
Because they buy them to fit when they're new. And then when they start wobbling around and pulling on the back of the head and pulling on the neck strap.
That's it.
So,
yeah.
But then you also have to be careful that you don't get that digging sensation on the sort of your temples and stuff. So it is difficult.
And a retailer will actually argue with you if they're any good when you're trying to get the bigger one and that you can put your hand up the front.
Yeah.
So the top's got to fit, but it's the hamster cheeks, isn't it? A lot. Yeah. I can't even get it on. I'm not even trying it. Go on, do it.
Yeah, get it on.
Like I said, you get the proper experience. You might have been in to buy a helmet because you like the colour, and they've took you out of the actual shell that you wanted. Which doesn't fit you, not safe.
The other thing to mention is that for the female viewers, is it's quite common for women to feel claustrophobic in helmets because they have better peripheral vision than we do, so they can see the edge of the helmets. So it's just if women are aware of that, then it's easier for them to get a helmet that fits correctly. Because quite often they'll put a helmet on and get claustrophobic very quickly, and men don't. It's just a difference in biology. So for people that are running shops, be a little bit more patient with women sometimes, because they can see the edge of the helmet and it's weird.
Yeah, I never knew that. I never knew women had a different field of vision to.
Yeah, it's a generalization, obviously, but generally they can see more this way. I mean, if I was guessing, it's because we're out hunting and they're protecting, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess. But you'd have to ask a evolutionary biologist, I guess.
Yeah.
How do you know?
I was just thinking,
on you?
Yeah, that's it. All seeing,
exactly.
Isn't it? That's what it is. All seeing. You know everything that's going on. That'll be why they run a mile before I get anywhere near them. Yeah. I was going to ask about the general fit in terms of, say, motorcycle jeans. What's the correct fit for the knee armor? Because sometimes I know when I've been wearing jeans and I'm sat on a bike, whether that's a sports bike or another bike, when your leg's bent, the armor isn't all over my kneecap. So it should be right over the kneecap.
There's a slice in the armor, and that is the middle of your kneecap. The armor does this, doesn't it? It will actually take it out, and it's got a slice in it. That's the middle of your knee. It should be stood up in the jeans with your legs straight, right on the middle of your knee. Not when you get your boots on, mate, it'll be fine. Gotcha. Because of the aggression of hitting the tarmac. They need to stay there, and like your man told you that. They need to fit tight. The armor needs to be in the correct place. You've got the hip armor as well. That's right on the neck of your femur.
Yeah. So
say the cut is the thing right in the middle of the armor.
So do you determine the fit and the size from when you're standing? So you put the jeans on when you're standing and look at the armor, or is it when you're sat on the bike? I'd imagine it's stood up.
The bike is you're making sure they're comfortable. If you've got too much impact on the kneecap, from doing massive mileage. I know from just this year, I think I've done 5,000 miles abroad. And if you sat there and you've got that impact, it doesn't have to be much. You're wiggling your legs about. These
after a couple of hours,
and then it might just changing the armor. I don't like this armor. It doesn't work with my body. You and Ed's a rugby player as well. It's big top legs. Hip armor, can't even use it maybe, and the knees. This armor's wrong. Don't write the jeans off. Just change the armor maybe. But
the amount of folk that I've been riding with who've done exactly that during a tour, they've just been like, I can't put up with this hip. They take the hip armor out, or I've even known people take the knee armor out, and you're just like, Jesus, wow, all right, it's your gamble. But yeah, people do it, don't they?
It's better than it used to be, though. So it's softer and more comfortable than it's ever been. But yeah, you're right. I mean, hip armor I really struggle with because, as you say, got big rugby players' hips and legs, and it's just no good for a lot of times.
So when you go to get yourself when you go to try a set of jeans on, then it's you check the fit in terms of the armor when you're stood up. So make sure everything is in the right place when you're stood up. It's not so critical other than comfort when you're sat on the bike. Because obviously when you crash, you're going to be off the bike anyway, aren't you? That's yeah.
And people would say my legs might be straight when I fall off. Yeah, but they might be bent. You just don't know, do you? So you want to be comfortable. The key for me with the knee armor is be comfortable on the bike.
Yeah.
That's the absolute key, I would say. So always try and sit on one as well.
Hey, what you don't hear much with jeans, which you used to, is people used to catch their jeans on the peg, didn't they, and fall over.
Yeah, that's right.
Put your foot down and catch your jeans on the peg. Whoa, and off the floor. You don't hear that, do you? Because they're like you said. Yeah. So you're going to have to watch out for that if you get some flares.
So basically, folks, get yourself along to your local bike shop. Support your local bike shop. They're going to be trained. They're going to know what they're doing, hopefully, and get fitted properly at the shop. That's fair to say, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, support them anyway by just drinking coffee and stuff, so they're still there.
Yeah, exactly. It's very true, though, isn't it? It's got to be hard times with some of the deals and stuff that are available online. God, it's got to be really hard for a proper physical store to compete with a lot of them.
And now, talking through with us, you're finding that a lot of deals aren't deals.
Yeah.
This is proper PPE. It's not, we're not talking about just buying a denim jacket to go down the pub in. It's got to work.
It's got to actually do the job.
And we're training these people. This is what we do in our day-to-day life. Is we're just making sure they know all this.
Mm-hmm.
We can. And that's not just us, as manufacturers, people working for the manufacturers, we spend our time training staff, not looking whether they've got stock to replace. We're actually product trainers.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Al's got he's got a comment about Velcro, but I think we've pretty much covered that. He's just saying about Velcro's poor quality.
I didn't know there'd be that much on Velcro, but
yeah, I think I've seen Velcro pop up in some of the Instagram, Facebook questions. He also says, I use Lindstrand Halvarssons kit, which I'm happy with, apart from the long-legged trousers. I understand mitigating the various needs in protective kit is difficult, but designs are far from innovative and rely on sub-branding of Gore-Tex or Outlast to big up dearer models. The gear is so much better than it was in the past, but I guess it's about people buying brands and putting up with shortcomings. Discuss.
Sub-branding. Right. That's interesting. That's an interesting way of putting it. So let's delve in to membrane. So Gore-Tex is obviously a branded membrane. You can't you obviously can't buy a cheap version of Gore-Tex. There isn't another name that Gore-Tex make. They make Gore-Tex, and that's what they make. Right. They have different levels. So you have Gore-Tex and Gore-Tex Pro.
Yeah.
Now, every other membrane, on the other hand, is slightly different. You can get Sympatex and all sorts of things, but Gore-Tex really does sit on its own as the market leader in terms of expensive branding.
Sorry, I've got a grenade beer. Apologies.
Oh, that's fine. Absolutely fine. And then you've got, so we use a one called Dryware, and we do 3 different levels of that. So it depends how much breathability is in each level. So the highest one has 30,000, the lowest one has 10,000. That's the amount of water molecules it moves through. It's very boring. Essentially, there's 2 ways of making a membrane. There's the Gore-Tex way, and there's the other way. So you have EPTFE, which is Gore-Tex, which is basically a fence. So it's got little holes in.
Yeah.
The water moisture that your body gives off can pass through that way, but the water can't come through the other way because it's smaller than a droplet molecule. The other way is a non-porous membrane, and what that does is absorb. It has no holes in it, which is what we use. And then the moisture gets absorbed in and pushed through out the other side. So that's the 2 ways of making membranes. So there is a difference. Now, to find a retailer who's going to explain that to you is going to be tough, because it's not a question you get asked very much. What people really want to know is it waterproof? Is it breathable?
Yeah.
And really what they really want to know is it waterproof? Most people don't care about breathability, is the truth of it. Most people know if it's waterproof. If you're buying from a good quality manufacturer, they're going to have a good quality membrane. It's going to be waterproof. So it's going to do the job. The hardest part of waterproofing is seam taping. And this leads us down another road, unfortunately. I'm going to go off on loads of tangents here, I'm afraid. So it's 2 ways of making a waterproof jacket. Well, 3 ways, sorry. You've got removable waterproof.
Yeah.
Which is what the RST Adventure Suit is, I believe, the one I'm talking about earlier. You've got drop liner, which is the old style way of making jackets and the slightly cheaper way of making it, which I'll explain in a minute. And then you've got laminate, which everyone now understands, which is what you've got.
Yeah.
So removable is pretty straightforward. You can take it out and then you have a full airflow jacket on top. Drop liner means you've got the outer material, the abrasion resistance, and then inside that, stitched to the inside, you've got a waterproof membrane, and then you've got a protective layer on top of that. So it's hung, hence drop liner. Probably, so it's only stitched at the bottom of the arms and the bottom. And your way, the laminate way, is means that it's laminated to the outer, so it's one material. So the waterproofing in the outer is all one material.
Right.
That's the 3 ways of doing it, basically. That is more important than what membrane is specifically in it. So with a laminate, you have to seam tape every pocket, and every stitch has to be seam taped. And that's the weak point. It's not the membrane itself, it's the seam taping. So the best thing to do after all that, if you can see the seam taping, you want to have about 4 to 5 millimeters of seam taping either side of the stitch, and then you'll get a good quality jacket.
For people out there, seam taping, can you explain what that is?
Sorry. So when you get so if you have the material and you put a pocket on it, you've got to stitch the pocket on, obviously, to attach it.
Yeah.
On the inside, on this part, can you see that?
Yeah.
You have a piece of tape over the top, which will stop the water coming through the seam where the holes are, where you've punctured it.
Okay.
So if you imagine when you've got a laminate jacket, every time you put a pocket on it or anything, you have to puncture the membrane because it's all one material.
Yeah.
Which is why they're more expensive. If you get a drop liner, remember it's just hung, you can stitch the outer without stitching the membrane, so you don't need to seam tape it, which is why it's a cheaper way of doing it. So,
gotcha.
So waterproofing is difficult, but if you're buying from a good manufacturer, they should warranty a waterproofing anyway. Now, what was the guy's question?
I've got one quick thing on waterproofing. Can you explain, do you know why the outer pockets on the Rucka Navala, like the actual pockets here, aren't waterproof? Why is that?
Because the zip isn't waterproof. The pockets are waterproof. The zip isn't. So the zip will let water in heavy duty rain.
Why did they do that then?
Fish in them. Water and keep your fish in them.
So they used to call those pockets waterproof a long time ago. What you got there, Mick?
I've got my this is my old rab jacket that I've just been walking the dogs in.
That's a seam tape.
Can you see that? That's a seam tape.
Got you. Yeah, see it.
And it's coming off. So the main material is still waterproof. And it's been washed in the right stuff. It's been fab sealed. The water bounces off it. It's doing the job. But when the tape comes off, underneath there is a hole where you put the stitching in.
Yeah,
it's failed.
So pockets. We're going to pockets for a bit. So we spoke to Rucker, and they used to call them waterproof. This was years ago. And what happened was people would leave them slightly open, and before phones were waterproof, their phones would then get wet, and then they'd try and get Rucker to pay for their new phones. So we came to agreement we wouldn't call external pockets waterproof.
Right.
Because we couldn't keep buying people £600, £1,000 iPhones. Gotcha. So that's the reason. The zip is pretty much waterproof, but if you leave it a millimetre open, you end up with a big pocket full of water. So it's difficult. That is a good quality YKK Aqua Seal Zip, I think it's called off the top of my head. Yeah. There are we use a zip called Nygaard, which is a coil construction, so it's slightly better, but we still wouldn't call an external pocket waterproof for that reason. That's the main reason.
They've got to be underneath. You're talking about your phone and your well, maybe not your wallet, but your passport, for instance, when you're away. It's got to be inside the jacket, and you will find there is an inside pocket inside that jacket.
Yeah. You've got two Napoleons inside the Navala, I think, unless they're taking up the chest protector. I can't remember.
You know, I didn't even know there was an inside pocket.
Just put your hands in. Don't put anything in them.
Gotcha. I can't remember. I left 2.5 years ago. I think have you got a chest protector in yours?
Yes.
It may have the chest protector in it, so you might not have one.
Oh, okay.
Can't remember.
All right, no worries. I always wear the rucksack anyway, so all I have in my jacket pockets are my keys and my earplugs before I left them on the tank and rode down the road.
They don't do a lot of good on the floor.
No. Well, at least
that's another safety issue, isn't it? It's
hearing protection.
It's alarm bells when you say put your keys in it. Even your phone. I've discussed it with people where you got your phone on your chest and it's a piece of glass.
Yeah.
So you worry about putting your key. Your key could turn around and go. I mean, there was people that were so bloody unlucky in there that they stuck the key through my chest because it was in my inside pocket. But anything that's external on your body, if you put it on the floor, it's a wear point. So if you have like a tin wallet like people have now, that'll wear a hole straight through your suit. Because when you've attached yourself to the road, it's got an edge to it and it'll burn a hole through the suit. So the keys should be off your body in your tank bag or whatever, and everything on it should be soft. But like your passport, and maybe the reason that someone was having an argument with me about it is that if they fell off the bike and they've rolled into a field and their phone is in the rucksack, in the tank bag, no good to you, is it? When you can phone someone, you're in a ditch. Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. And this area is not really going to get hammered if you do wear a chest protector, which I'd suggest to, and I've started to wear this year.
The chest protector,
really good idea. And I think absolutely, when you're riding your Gixxer, you've got a little plastic screen and just a set of handlebars that you can smash off with your knee. So the worst injury that you could get was maybe hurt your femur because you're going through that. Now it's getting taller and taller in front of you. H-frames, extra H-frames, sat-nav, bars, bits of metal and plastic that are really high. If someone pulls out in front of you because you're freezing cold because you're wearing your T-shirt, thinking about that instead of what's going on, you've got to take that out with your chest if you just have a head on. And so as a road person, I'd say it's still a good idea to wear one or an airbag, and it's protecting you from your phone as well.
Yeah, I suppose it is, isn't it? It's protecting you from not only what's around you, but what's on you as well at the same time.
One quick thing on that last question I've got to mention, unfortunately. I'll get back to the boring stuff.
No worries.
I'll do all the boring stuff. Mick can do all the interesting stuff. So in it, he said sub-brands of Outlast. Now, Outlast is nothing to do with waterproofing, which is what I think he's suggesting here. So I'm going to go through Outlast because most people in the industry think it's a waterproofing thing, and it's not. So what Outlast is a material that is a lining, or you can buy it in a base layer. It's the two ways of getting it. Ours is lined in some of the jackets, or we sell a base layer within. And what it is it's a temperature regulator. So it's little strands of material, and then they have little wax beads on the strand. When you get hot, you melt the wax beads. They're encapsulated. So it goes from a solid to a liquid. So it cools you down. And when you get cold again, it goes from liquid to solid, then it goes from a solid to a liquid, gives you the energy back. So it's constantly changing its phase to keep you at the right temperature. So what its application for motorcycling is we're talking about moisture inside a jacket. When you're going down the motorway and you've got a wind chill, you're quite comfortable. You pull off a petrol station, you get hot really quickly and start to sweat, which we've all experienced because you've lost the wind chill. What Outlast will do is absorb that energy, keep you at a comfortable temperature. You won't start to sweat. So when you pull away again, you won't get that cold, horrible, damp sensation. You'll just pull away comfortable. And that's what Outlast does. It slows down the change in temperature. So it's a one-off material. It's the only real one in the motorcycle market at the moment. I think there are a couple outside of the motorcycle market, but that's what Outlast does. So it's worth covering that.
There's a fair bit of science to all this clothing lark, isn't there?
Yeah,
It's also developed by NASA, isn't it? It's used with NASA in the spacesuits.
Really?
It is rocket science.
Yeah. Jeez, I had no idea. Wow. Okay, right. Next one. This runs on to this question then. Paul Jacques. Why are inflatable crash jackets so expensive?
Do you want to take that one, Mick? I've just got someone knocking on my door in my office. 2 seconds.
No worries.
So inflatable protective jackets.
Yeah, I think he means like air vests.
Yeah, I would say that it's based on the technology, isn't it? It's everything that's gone into it, and the fact that I would say if I'm in the market for one, and I'm going to look into the fact that I don't have to send it away. So if you can send it to a UK distributor to be rearmed and have a new gas canister put into it or whatever needs to be done, that would be whether it was is expensive or not to me. How much does it cost to look after it per year, have the subscription, and whether it costs a fortune to rearm the thing every time you crash. And if you were using your bike a lot in the summer, if you did have an off and your bike's not destroyed and you're back on it the next day, you would want to get it back quite quickly as well. So I think that to me is expense as opposed to what it costs, because it's still your spine, it's still your chest, it's your sternum, it's all your vital organs. It's not your head, but it's the closest thing to it. So most people would spend upwards of $250, say, for a helmet to maybe £700. It's a relative expense, isn't it? And I think when you can know what we know, so you're talking about single layer jeans with the right equipment inside and not spending money every single year because I've got to have this jacket, that jacket. I'm freezing cold, boiling hot. So you're just purchasing stuff all the time because you're having to build up all this technology because of this year it's 30 degrees. It wasn't when I was in Scotland. I think it was 17. I had my heat grip on. It was 30 degrees at home. But that changeability makes you buy another pair of short boots, a different pair of jeans. I've got to buy a mesh jacket. So if you got clever with the kit in the first place and really understood the tech, you're spending less anyway. Yeah. So you can actually wear a massively expensive helmet and your airbag because you haven't gone, I've got to buy some more stuff, because it's not. I think the real deal is try and buy stuff that's going to last about 10 years. It actually jump over the handlebars.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're doing serious mileage, then it won't last 10 years.
No.
if you're careering, then it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we're maybe guilty of getting a bit blasé about the levels of technology that are actually involved in some of these bits of kit, like the crash jackets, the air vest, for example. When you think about it, that is a tiny, tiny little computer with these incredibly complex algorithms running with all these different G sensors. Because this thing, it's got to decide in I don't know what the time is. Is it hundredths or thousandths of a second? It's got to decide, whether or not it's going to deploy or not. And it's got to be able to determine, is it just you having a quick stumble? Or Or is it actually a life-threatening incident that's a way to take place? And yeah, as you just said there, Mick, as well, some of these vests, I don't think there's any one-use only vests anymore, are there? There used to be. It was once, and then that was it, wasn't it, in the early days? And now I know with the Helite that I have, it's literally, it goes off, you tuck it all back inside, screw off the canister, screw another one on, off you go. It's as simple as that. But you're paying for it. You're paying. I think the E1 is something like 500-600 quid. I think.
But, I don't think it's that expensive. Yeah, that seems about right. I mean, I know the Denny's one's just gone up to 720 or something, but when you think about the amount of R&D that goes into it, I mean, it's very early technology still. And they've got to constantly be working on that algorithm, getting it better and better and make it work better. If you look at the MotoGP guys, even sometimes theirs goes off when they haven't crashed. But then when you've got Marquez saving it on his elbow, it's, we're not doing that on the road, are we? So
speak for yourself.
Elbow head.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So, what do you mean by save? Crash?
And £500-600 is pretty good when you compare it to a helmet, which is,
or your life, or being able to
those
walk.
things. Yeah.
Or this.
Yeah. There's a friend of mine, Lee. I think he's actually got a question in here, actually, but he's a professional motorcycle tester with Triumph, and he was wearing one of the very early Halite vests. He went and bought one himself, and he had a big crash, which he's adamant would have killed him. Certainly would have paralysed him, but he reckons probably killed him if he wasn't wearing one of these vests. And it was him that put them onto me, actually. So, and I've also got another friend of mine who, from my police days, he worked in a certain sneaky beaky department where you would ride motorcycles at very high speed for certain situations. He had a big crash a couple of years ago. He was wearing a vest, which not many of them do, but he did. I think his wife actually made him wear the vest, and he survived. And again, he's adamant, doesn't think he'd have made it if he wasn't wearing a vest. So, as you said, 600-700 quid, and being able to maybe not get up and walk away, but certainly breathe and live to fight another day.
It's not the sort of thing you're going to wear out either, is it? Because you haven't got any move. With your jackets, it's always the elbows that wear because you're moving constantly with it. Whereas the vest just sort of sits there. So it's not going to wear out as quickly as a trouser or a jacket as well. So it should last you quite a long time. And obviously the manufacturer has to update the algorithm constantly, and the app as well. That's got to be updated and paid for all the time. So there's a lot of costs involved in making them. So I think they're about right price-wise.
I need to look into this. I don't even know there is I don't even know if there is an app for the Halite one. I'll need to look into this because I'll just put it on and wear it every day.
You want to see how many G's you're pulling, I'm sure. It's very important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Okay. Cheers for that one, Paul. Next one, Grant Laidlaw. Hi, folks. Hope all is well. My question is around air vests and may well have been covered under the previous questions, but in case not, I've got a 2-piece Dionysi leather suit and also a 2-piece Richa Gore-Tex suit that I use depending on what bike I'm on. I know I'm one of them. I've also got a Dionysi DA vest that I wear on top of either jacket. I've never looked at safety ratings, slide data, etc., but to me, the leather suit feels safer and likely to offer a lot more protection than the textile. The Dionysi air vest marketing tells me it provides the equivalent protection as 7 back protectors, and I've therefore removed the back protectors that were already in both jackets. My questions are, firstly, am I right in thinking quality 2-piece leathers are going to give better protection over textiles? And also the claims for the DA vest as straightforward as the marketing suggests, and is removing back protection with an air vest unwise? So 2 parts.
I mean, we covered the leather. I think the leather for me it's still going to be better when you fall off.
Okay, when it's
pouring down the rain, though.
Is it all zipped together? So has he got a 360 zip on his suits? Because if you put your bum down on the floor and your jacket rises up, then you're in trouble again, aren't you? Because you've got the slide protection of the leather, but only if it stays together. Yeah. So it would need to be not a little zip at the back, but 360 zip on both, and the leather would be more protective. And then we're back to, is the armour in the right place? Did it actually fit you properly? Did you go to a specialist to buy it? And with regards to the airbag, if it didn't go off, no second hit, but it would be probably uncomfortable to wear. Have you got the back protector in yours?
Me, yeah. I've kept all the armor in mine. Yeah,
they're normally most of the airbags now have built-in back protectors as part of the airbag. They've normally got a solid piece in them as well.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I was just told by Helite, they said that, because for track days now, you have to have a back protector on. And I queried that because I was going to be going away with California Superbike School doing their 3 and 4 levels. So I said to Helite, will the air vest work in place of a proper back protector for the track? And they were like, yeah, absolutely, it will be fine. So I spoke with California just to clarify it, and they were like, yeah, no, that's fine. Who is it? It's oh god, what's the big company that do most of the track days now? They own like brands, they own a load of the circuits. Yes, I think MSV were the ones that were dictating the use of back protectors on their circuits, and they turned around and said, yeah, it's a back protector or an air vest. You can wear that. Yeah, that, actually, Grant does say that. He said, it's crossed my mind that if the airbag doesn't actually deploy when it should, then I have, in fact, reduced the protection I have. So, yeah.
Depends on, like Ed said, if it's wearing one, then you've got 2.
You've got 2 then. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But if it's uncomfortable, then, yeah, if you've got one already, don't put another one in.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, like you said, the air vest actually has a back protector already incorporated into it. So, yeah.
I think if it's got that, I think I don't know what Dayanese he's got, but I think most of them have got them incorporated in them anyway now. So yeah, he could probably remove his if it has.
Yeah. So just check that, Grant. Have a look at your air vest. If it's got a back protector, you're fine. If not, get your back protector back in your clothing.
Well,
lovely job.
Ask the retailer that sold it to you.
Yes.
Exactly what if they've got update information on that, they're the ones that are trained. If they've had a guy come in, train them how to work it, train them on all the use. So that's what we're
certainly with Helite Alpine Star Dayanese, I think you have to have specialist training to stock them as a store. So you have to have someone in the store that's specialist trained before you're allowed to sell them. So they should know.
That's quite good though. That's good that, if motorcycle shops, stores, if they want custom, if they want people coming into the shop, then obviously they have an obligation to be properly trained, don't they? And rightly so, they should be. So let's get in there, folks. Let's get into the shops and make use of this experience and expertise from them.
I've also seen them. I've been on a open day and seen the guys, the distributors, doing actively, setting the airbags off on people so they get a group of people and someone gets laughed at because the airbag goes off.
Yeah.
But equally, the retailers telling the information as well. They're all singing off the same hymn sheet. They've all been trained in the same way. So you just say, that's what we think, but we're not trained.
Yeah, it's an interesting sensation when the vest goes off, isn't it? Wow, they did that. Sorry.
It's the waiting.
Yeah, just waiting for that. Yeah, because I remember the Halite chaps were saying that they used to inflate the jacket and then take a baseball bat and will start whacking you with a baseball bat, but they're not allowed to do that anymore. So they don't do it anymore. But I need to think of a way without crashing my bike of testing. Because I'm going to have to do some content around this Halite vest, and obviously I can't review it without actually properly reviewing it. So I'm like,
I heard a story.
Go on.
Someone was on they're on the channel, so they've got an e-vest, so it's aware of the fact that it's moving, so it can obviously feel the sensation.
Oh wow!
And dropped something on the floor and went down to pick it up, and the vest went off.
Really?
I don't know how true that is, but that's what I heard.
Well, I've done the tunnel a few times this year and it's not gone off. So.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Because maybe you didn't move quick enough or whatever. But
what are you trying to say? That's a good point. Yeah, because it's got all those sensors built in, won't it? So it'll know it's moving.
It's turned at the speed. Yeah.
Wow, blimey.
That's what to think about.
Yeah, definitely. If you've got ideas, folks, how I can test this vest without crashing my bike, then answers on a postcard, let me know. Right, Mark Fulchar. Hey up me ducks. Apologies, Bruce. I've had a bit on, so not being as forthcoming with the questions as normal. No worries, pal. Don't worry about it. So I think I'm a bit late to the party, but I'll ask anyway. Not that riding a particular style of bike should define the clothing that you wear. However, would you agree that the ageing biking community of the UK, mainly thanks to Bruce, they've become GS tractor riding rucker fairies, and the shift to the majority riding tarmac adventure bikes, has this seen the development in textile suits and associated clothing the main focus for manufacturers? So are you noticing, noticing the shift to the adventure style and textiles, things like that?
Yeah, it's the main thing, isn't it? It's the main thing in the clothing industry now. When we both first started in the 90s, we were all selling race suits and leathers and leather race suits and all that sort of thing. And then in the last, what would you say, mate, 10 years?
It seems those guys went around the world.
Yeah, it's true.
Up and down.
When Charlie and Ewan went around the world, that's when it changed.
It's when we all wanted grey suits and GSs and tin boxes.
Yeah.
I've got a boxer. I've got an R9T Scrambler.
Oh yeah.
I've still got that kind of classic engine, but I'm a bit like you, where I'm not going to, I just want to do something different, and that bike has been ace. So I've got the option to wear a brown leather jacket and little boots down urbanish, and wear a textile jacket. But I'm not, the one that I've got has got no pockets. So my textile is a stretch textile black, no pockets, got inner pockets, just ones to put your hands in. So it's very, very plain black, just got tiny writing on it. That's what I prefer. I'm not really a adventure jacket type guy. I've got an Arai. I've got a Chaser X, so I've got a race helmet with a black visor.
Yeah,
I'm still using kind of Supermoto gloves and lace up brown boots. So even when I'm touring, but I'm definitely a Daytona guy. I've got Daytona boots.
Have you?
And that's going towards your GS, isn't it?
Daytona boots are just, wow, they are the comfiest boots I've ever worn. But I had the so I'm just going to grab my earphone. It fell out there. I've just yeah. I bought a pair of those Daytona touring boots, and they had the titanium toe sliders on them. So I think I went to Spain literally like a week or 2 weeks after I bought these boots, and I'm on the GS, and in the old bill we were taught to ride duck feet. You don't ride with your toes on the pegs. You ride with your like the balls of your feet on the pegs. They explained why, and I can't remember why, but I just got into the habit of doing it. So every corner that you come up to, you're just drilling your toe into the tarmac, and the sliders went in like a day. They're just gone, totally disappeared. So these beautiful, like, waterproof Daytona boots, in the space of like a day or two in Spain, they've just worn right through to the toes. I'm like, shit, but they were the comfiest boots I've ever worn. They were amazing.
So me and Mick have been to the factory a couple of times to Daytona. So it's in Eggenfeld in Germany. Sorry?
No one's been there.
No. They don't really let people go.
Right.
Because they got these little secrets they don't want people to know. But it's two brothers that run it. One of them runs the production and one of them runs the sort of leather side. And you see the whole cowhides come in, and he selects them by hand, one of the owners, what leather goes into the boot. It's incredible. They're very, very hands-on, the two owners. One of the machines had an issue, and he got called on his mobile while he was showing us around, and he had to leave, and he went and fixed the machine, then ran the boot through the process to make sure it's perfect, and then came back and carried on showing us around the factory. So absolutely incredible. If you ever get the chance to go there, which you probably won't because not many people do, it's unbelievable. It's superb. That is stereotypical German, isn't it? Just absolutely precision. It does the job perfectly. Yeah, and they don't change it. They made it right the first time. Yeah. It's their tiny little changes every year. But yeah, it's incredible product. One of those other examples of worth the money, isn't it? You pay a fortune for them. I think the boots I've got, they're about 15 years old. They're now about 850, 900 pounds. And it is a sport touring boot with an inner plastic piece that you can't move your ankle, and they've got an outer on them. It's not the Security Evo. I've got an Evo Sport. It doesn't even exist anymore. But I've just done all the touring that I've done. I didn't even think about my feet. I didn't think they're hot, they're cold, or will they be waterproof. I just didn't think about them at all. Come home, wash them off,
put Lader Pledge on them, so you got the Daytona polish, and put them back in the cupboard until you ride a big trip again. And then I'm riding around in, Roland sand boots that are lace up with white soles all the time that I walk in and ride the bike. Yeah. But if you're going any distance, I don't know. I could say you can't beat them, but I think you can't, based on the fact that you can repair them. When I went to the factory, they've got little brown tags on the boots going through the production line, and they were people's boots. So you got the new ones going through the production, and in there as well, in the same process, is a little brown tag one, is someone's boots being repaired.
I didn't know they repaired them. Mm-hmm. I think I've chucked away my Daytonas. Oh, God, if I've still got them, I'll get them repaired. Jeez.
Yeah. Re-soles, re-zip, everything. So,
yeah, another thing that we won't go on about Daytona all night, but another thing they do is they put a small aramid pad above your toenails. So if you imagine where you're changing gear, your toenails wear away the membrane, and that's why boots leak in the toe. So they put an aramid pad between the membrane and your toe so you can't wear it away.
Wow.
And then what they do is don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody that. It's just there. It's incredible.
Wow.
They make 90,000 pairs of boots a year, and they sell every pair, and they can't make any more. It's absolute maximum production. They also make ballet shoes. That's the other thing they do.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which is why you can have any color Daytona you want, because they've got all the leathers in all the colors.
Yeah. They felt like slippers. Those Daytonas I had were so comfortable when I put them on. They felt like no other boot I'd worn. It was like, this is nice. I can do some miles in these. They felt amazing.
I think in the Roadstars they do 5 width things now, a standard.
Wow.
And they'll do made to measure as well. Yeah, so an amazing product. But touring kit, it's definitely all going that way. I mean, Mick and I were around when they first bought out laminate construction, which made a big difference to the UK market, and is now probably the dominant construction in the UK market. But what we've seen over the last 3 years is people are buying removable lining a little bit more, because they want to go touring in Spain and Italy, those sort of places. Yeah. So our top jacket is a removable waterproof one, and that's probably our best-selling jacket in the range now. So completely sold out for a year.
I don't know if you're noticing it in the industry, in the trade yet. I'd imagine it is coming through. But for me, when I look at, in my world on social media, I'm definitely aware of a much younger crowd coming through. I know traditionally we're all getting older. We're all getting older and fatter, and people have moved from sports bikes across into, more upright and adventure style bikes. But I definitely feel like not only is there a big move of influx of women coming into biking, but there is a much younger crowd coming in now, much younger. I'm noticing it for sure. And I notice a lot of the PR teams, they don't bother with the likes of me and TMF and Lamb Chops anymore. They're all focusing on the women and the youngsters that are coming in, for sure.
So I'm part of the social media team at Halvarssons. So there's about 4 of us in that team. We're not very good at it yet. We're still learning. But and the truth is, we were looking for digital content artists. Is that what we're called these days? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't
digital
know.
Content creators.
I don't know what I am.
I know people get very offended if you say influencers, so we won't say that.
But the people who are doing this, they get offended, and I'm like, oh well, okay.
So we were looking for people, and it's we haven't got the money to be paying the Michelin Flyer type level of people. We just haven't got that sort of budget to get involved with those type of numbers. And the truth is that the vast majority are women, because, and I'm sure someone said on your podcast, I can't remember who it was, you get the guys looking at the women's Instagram accounts and the girls looking at it. So you get double. Yeah. When it's a guy, you tend to just mostly get guys looking at it. So you're actually only getting maybe 2/3 of the marketplace. So
unless you're Richie Vida, and then you get all the women looking at it.
That's right. So it's really difficult to actually get males. It's much easier to get females, and young females as well are definitely the people that people look at in terms of numbers. Yeah. We don't actually pay anybody. We just give kit to people sometimes to test, and we always expect it to be sort of an honest test of the equipment. Hopefully, is the way we go with it. But you're right. We were at ABR Festival. I'm sure. I think you were as well, weren't you?
Only a day. I only managed Friday afternoon.
Yeah, so we were at ABR, and I think you're right. I think there's definitely some younger people, even at that event, which is an expensive event to go to. If you're at college or university or whatever, it's £120 for the weekend. Yeah. It's good value, but it's not a cheap event to go to. So I think you're right. There's definitely more young people coming through, which is great, and women, which is also great. The clothing is difficult for women, but I'm sure there's a question on that somewhere on your list.
Yeah, I've seen some. I've seen some actually. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's brilliant that, because it was really worrying for a long time. There was just no young blood coming into the sport, was there? And it was like, what's going to happen here? Because in the UK, certainly the government, you get the feeling that the UK government is, I want to say anti-bike, maybe it's not that far, but they're definitely not pro-bike. They're definitely not pro-motorbike here. Like, you go to some European countries, Spain, France, places like that, Italy, where they're just, bikes are part of life, aren't they? It just doesn't seem to have that feel over here. So it's nice to see the younger blood coming in.
I wonder if it's going to turn with the weather. So this year, it's a couple of people in my family that are young, one guy, one girl. I would never imagine them to get a motorcycle, and they've both got some Vespas and asking about the kit and wearing X-Lite carbon fiber helmets, drop down visors. So they've done the research and have no idea about through people like you. They've looked right into the industry and are really excited about it. You think, fantastic, but it's because everything else is so expensive to run. I can't have a car to go to work because it's too expensive. So I've got to get a motorbike. And then they get that feeling that we got when we were younger that never goes away. So you stop and have kids and whatever. It's still never going away. You'll jump back on a bike when you can afford one again. Yeah. It's just about getting them the wind in their face and going, wow, actually, this is amazing because it's 25 degrees, not because it's today. Fishing down the rain. They understand what they don't want to do it.
Where do you think the industry is going to go? Like in terms of bikes, like I kind of think, I don't think adventure bikes have had their day, because like people like me are still out there and we can sit in comfort and do as many miles as you want, and you get almost as good road performance out of the modern adventure bikes than I did out of my Gixxer from like 2008, 2009. All right, I'm not going to get the top end speed, but for road riding without going to jail, the big adventure bikes are fantastic. The power's awesome. It's great. It's comfortable. But I also really enjoy the little bikes, and I'm seeing, maybe because I enjoy riding little small CC bikes, maybe I look at that on my horizon a lot more. But to me, it feels like there's a lot more smaller CC bikes coming in, and whether that's is that to appeal to, dare I say it, and please don't bite my head off. I don't want to be a chauvinist here, but is it to appeal to the more women that are coming in who don't want the great big massive adventure bikes or the big imposing large CC bikes, and men? I've had lots of guys contacting me going, I would love the GS, but I'm 5'3", I'm 5'5", or I just don't feel like I've got the confidence to handle one of those big bikes. What's smaller, like 500cc or less sort of bikes? I just got this feeling. I think small CCs are going to be on the up. I can see them coming.
You've got Himalayans in that spec. When I was in Italy, I went to see Mutt. Yeah, motorcycles from Birmingham. Yeah. They're selling all the units, and I think they might. Well, there was talk of them doing a 500. I didn't look at the bikes on the stand because I'm going to look at that at the NEC. I went around looking at all the clothing, and then we're off to the NEC to then just go, what new bikes are there? Yeah, but me and my friends have got monkey bikes. Yeah. Every one of them has got a Benelli TNT, and I've got a Chally Honda from 1978 with a different engine in it. So it's got a bigger motor, and we've all got silly little monkey bikes that you can chuck in the van. And you have more fun on that than you ever on a big bike. It's just miles, isn't it?
Yeah. I did a thing with Richie Vida and official Mr. Fish, John, another YouTuber chap, and the three of us got on little 125s. So John and Richie Vida both had Honda Cubs, and I had one of the Sinus Apache, little enduro bike, 125cc thing. So John and I did a road trip up to the Peak District, and then we met up with Dickie Vegas, Rich. He took us on a tour around the Peak District, and we even did some like green laning on these things. And then we left Rich, and John and I went into Wales, and we went all around Wales on the 125s. We did like 1,000 mile in 3 days. And I tell you what, I still smile at the thought of that. It was fucking brilliant. Great fun.
I've only just stopped riding two-stroke 250s. So
right.
I had RGVs and RSs and all that stuff my whole life. So I've always loved small capacity stuff. I had to sell the last one recently for house reasons, those sort of reasons. But I've always been in small capacity. But I think you're right. I think you'll see smaller capacities. Fuel efficiency will be a big thing going forward, definitely.
Yeah.
Try and bring the cost down. Obviously, 1,000-litre sports bikes are done, really, unless you're doing track days now. They're just showpieces in people's houses, unfortunately. Yeah. So I think you're right. You will see more small capacity. Honda releasing their CL 500, aren't they, this year, I think? Their new retro one. That world is going to grow and grow and grow. I'm sure of that. Yeah. Some people thought it would have died by now, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to continue on. For a while yet. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that'll go forward. The adventure bikes are the time.
I'd say, well, how's it going to innovate? You've, like I said, when we first started talking, there's that brand called Cake, and like that. They're really putting some design into the electric bikes that we all go, I'll never have an electric bike. I'm not into that. You will be, and there will be
coming.
And
in our lifetime, it's coming.
Yeah, and the same as cars. They've, they're making really cool cars. They're going to make bike as well, and you'll be plugging them in.
Yeah, they're talking about, is it 2035? There'll be no new, or is it 2032? There's no new petrol bikes now from it's either 32 or 35 onwards. There'll be no new petrol bike. So they say. I think that was the target, and I was thinking, are they going to be able to do this? And then there was that announcement quite recently, wasn't there, where the big Japanese four got together and they're like, right, we are now actively working towards interchangeable batteries. Yeah. And I've ridden quite a lot of electric. I've been riding electric since 2018 now with English Electric Company. And I've had Alec on the podcast a few times, and I've had big lengthy chats with him off camera about it as well. And I've always thought interchangeable batteries would be the way ahead, but he was like, with the current battery technology, it's literally for a bike that can do 100 miles range, you're talking 100 kilogram battery. That's the restriction. So there's no way you're going to have 100 kilogram interchangeable battery, or even 4 25 kilogram batteries. 25 kilograms is quite a lot of weight, isn't it? For most people. But this announcement with the big four talking about it, you're like, whoa, because obviously they're going to be investing a lot of money in that, and they're only going to invest in it if they're confident that they're going to have a viable solution at the end of it. So be interesting to see what's coming with that.
And then there's technology, If
exactly.
The weight of your laptop, and whatever, anything with the battery, it's moved on, isn't it? But it's also interesting to talk about sustainability, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether, where does the energy come from? You've got the batteries. Where do the batteries come from? Where do you plug it to? Where's, is it wind power that's powering that? Or it's all going to move on, isn't it? So I think ultimately that's where we're going to be. And I don't think it's going to be a sad thing. I think it's just going to be the next generation. We're just the old kids moaning about it because,
of course,
we like petrol. We like the sound of them, but everything will move on. The marketing will move on as well. That'll just be some git stuff, won't it, that we don't really want. And
it's true.
Unreliable.
Like my old two-strokes.
Well, exactly. Like you've got carbs instead of injection system.
Mm-hmm.
Carburetors now to us is a pain in the arse, isn't it? Because it doesn't perform properly. I'm sure an electric bike was going to go off the mark a lot faster than a set of carbs.
They're phenomenal. It is amazing. It's just stunning. And you never get tired of it either. Alec brought up a really interesting point when we were chatting about it and the last time he was on the podcast, because I was like you, Mick. I was like, to me, electric just felt like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul in terms of the environmental impact, because, all right, okay, it's not got the end product pollution, which directly out of the end user vehicle, like with a petrol engine, the fumes come out and that's going to damage the environment and making the fuel, getting the fuel damage the environment, blah, 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 blah. With electric, as you just said, all the components that you need to make the battery, they're destroying the environment. how do you actually power the factories that make all the parts? That's destroying the environment. Alex said, he's no doubt that the electric motor is the future of transportation in the world, but he doesn't think batteries as we know it are the future. It's going to be, how do we fuel that electric motor? Exactly what you said. Basically, is that going to come from hydrogen cells? Is it going to come from nuclear cells? What are we going to power the electric engine with? Who knows? Who knows what's coming?
It's going to come so fast, and if everybody invests in it, we have no idea what we're even talking about.
Exactly.
At this point, do we?
Yeah, exactly.
Speculation.
Right, we're going off topic. Fulch has got a second part. He says, secondly, I think we've actually addressed some of this. Secondly, as I don't yet fall into the previous questions category, being an avid sports bike rider on road and on track, personally, I can't imagine getting on a bike for a ride without wearing a full complement of leathers. I would genuinely feel naked and wouldn't enjoy the ride without them. Is there any argument or factual data that we've covered this, that leathers cover a higher level of protection than textiles? Basically, we've covered that part. I'll just make sure there's nothing else to this question. Okay, right, we've covered that bit. Leathers are better than textiles. And he says, lastly, is anyone else pissed off with Christmas yet? Yes, already.
My wife's very into it, so yeah, I am as well.
The adverts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, next one. Charlie Callard. Evening all. Hope you're all well. Cheers, Charlie. So a couple of questions from me this evening. Have you ever been pleasantly surprised or horrified at a release of or the possible development of a new product?
Horrified, eh?
Horrified by a new product.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some products that I haven't been that keen on before. There used to be a helmet with what looked like a cheese grater on top of it as an air vent. I thought that was pretty wild.
I've not seen that.
You had a metal panel on the top of the helmet here, and that was, you opened it and it had lots of holes in for ventilation. So you pulled the whole shell away and it had a big bit, and then that was straight down to the EPS underneath that. And I was like,
yeah. Nice.
I don't think so for me. I think that was long enough ago for me to say. I haven't said the brand, so I'm probably okay.
The only thing that I know that people are horrified by, which is normally Marmite, are the women if you mention pink or baby blue.
Oh, I think someone mentioned, I've seen a question on one of the socials about that. Yeah.
But then you got some people that think it's amazing, and then there's nothing in between. It's just if you bring out a pink product, I won't buy any of your stuff. We've developed a jacket that was pink, wasn't it? It's grey and pink.
Yeah,
we got it tone on tone with just pink zips because you can't release that. Your horror story.
Yeah. If you look at some of the leathers that people used to wear on sports bikes in the 80s, Jesus Christ,
the worms.
Yeah, it's Carl Fogarty one.
Yeah.
Awful. The other one that is a bit Marmite is the polite vest, isn't it?
Oh God, don't. Oh. Yeah.
There's that one, and then there's the God. Now I'm thinking about it, there's loads of things. There's the furry ears back in the 90s. Used to have furry.
Yeah.
The things you put on top of your helmet. Oh
yeah. That made a guy a millionaire. Sold millions of them. Unbelievable. Yeah. Huge success. God. Shelling peas. That was crazy.
Wow.
So there is some stuff out there.
The polite vests, if you come on one of my tours, if you come on a chicken strips tour, I've basically got the vest of shame. So every evening we have a kangaroo court, and you decide who gets the vest for the following day. And it can be, it can just be stuff like you're having it, or it can be you took too long filling up with fuel, you faffed the most, so you get the vest. I always get it at some point in the tour. I always get given it, but yeah, we've got the vest of shame that does the rounds. A pink polite vest has to be done.
Remember the gold watch on the stand?
Yeah, we used to have that at the NEC show when I was working there with and yeah, there used to be a really bad watch that someone's grandma had given them, and he bought it along one year, and everyone took the piss out of it so much that the year after you had to wear the watch if you did the biggest fuck up the day before, basically.
Really? You had to wear a jumper.
It was awful. And yeah, you weren't allowed to wear a jumper over it. No. You had to show it off. And I remember that the owner of the company had to go and have a meeting with Yamaha and he was wearing the watch because he'd done something stupid the day before. And one of the Yamaha guys said, "Before we start, what the fuck is that on your wrist?"
Where did you get that watch? It's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
It was gold rubies in it.
Oh, it's awful.
Rubies.
Awful.
Horrendous.
Terrible thing.
Lovely. Charlie's got a second question. Does pineapple belong on a pizza?
Not for me.
Well, yes.
No.
Yeah,
I'm a yes. Yeah.
I don't like pineapple on anything though. So
really,
no, it's not for me.
Tastes nice.
Yeah, I'm a definite yes as well. Absolutely. Right, Lee Vigor. Lee's the chap I was telling you about, the Triumph Test Rider. Hi all, hope you're all well. My question is for my wife and all the lady riders out there. There is a lot. Why is it, here we go. Why is it so hard to find good quality female riding kit with a good fit and finish, the same quality that's found in male riding kit? Yes, it's got better over the years, but the whole industry needs to catch up with the times. So many don't sit on the back anymore. We didn't mention pink.
This is a problem. So this is one of my pet subjects, luckily, because I love to mansplain to them. They really enjoy, as you'd imagine. Three middle-aged guys talking about women's kits. Actually, ideal. But luckily, it's a mirror of what the industry is. This is what it is. It's massively male-dominated.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about fit first. Men's really easy because we just get fatter. Taller, shorter, and fatter. That's it. It's super simple to make a men's jacket fit well, but at least reasonably. Women's, on the other hand, is really difficult because they have different size chests, hips, shoulders. It's really hard to make it fit. So what has happened in the last, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years, is that stretch materials have come about, which means women's kit fits much better now than it used to. Much better. So we've got a ladies' jacket with full stretching and another one coming next year. And then we've got a laminate jacket. And I know Rucker have, I think, 2 laminate stretch jackets for women as well. So now it is. Sorry?
Got 2 of them behind you.
Yeah. So
that's Lindstrands. Is that Lindstrands?
It's Halvarssons.
Halvarssons, sorry.
Yeah.
Halvarssons.
Yeah. So the women's fit thing is getting better. We do 3 leg lengths. The problem is it's still only about 10% of total clothing sales if you're good at it. So I was talking to Moto Legends who have a wall of ladies kit. They have 2 women working the shop. One of the owners is a woman who's she knows a lot about kit and knows how she wants it to fit, etc. And she's very involved. And even they get up to 15% maybe. So it's still a massive minority of the sales. So if you're running a shop, it's very difficult to have a wall full of women's kit that at the end of the year you've then got to discount and get rid of because the new stuff's coming in or whatever. Yeah, so I think a lot of women are passing their tests, definitely. And there is more and more women out there doing the riding. But I think the kit is maybe 2 or 3 years behind where the numbers are. But obviously that's how long it takes to develop a jacket, change track, get it manufactured. So I think there's always that lag at the moment. I don't want to blow our own trumpet, but we do every top of the range jacket we do in our range except one. Comes in exactly the same spec for women, 3 leg lengths, 2 or 3 leg lengths. And different sizes, obviously, fit-wise. No pink at all just blacks and greys. Really boring, just like the men's. And then we've got blue, dark blue, that dark blue one behind me. That's coming in a ladies' fit as well. So we're doing that. I know Rucker have got a top-of-the-range suit as well for women that stretch fit and everything. So people are doing better. It's not there yet, but it is getting there. It's tough. It's really tough.
When we're showing the stuff in pre-order, so we're showing the kit to the people that are going to purchase it, that are going to put it on their wall. We're excited by women's fits because they've got it right, and it's generally around the waist. So they've got a waist adjuster, and they're made. The jacket's actually going to make you look like a woman and fits, and it's a woman's product. And we're actively telling them that you need to do this kind of thing, because you'll become one of the specialists.
Yeah,
so we're aware of the fact that people won't take a risk, even more so now after Brexit, not knowing what's happening, trying to get the feet back under the table and pay all the bills. So it's a risk if it's a low percentage. But we're still saying to them, look, if people are calling us, people from your podcast, just let us know. If you contact us, we'll tell you the people that have got a wall full of it. Because they do need bigging up because they've done it, and some of the shops are completely run by women. So not only are you gonna walk in and the women's stuff's over there, generally it'll be next to the changing room, so you don't have to walk around where all the blokes are just having a cup of tea next to the counter. They have got a complete wall full of it, and they have invested in it. And we've got to prove to them that it will sell, because after a couple of years of them putting, £20,000 on the wall of women's kit and no one came in, it's just knowledge. And generally, you'd have to maybe travel a bit further. Your local dealer hasn't got it in. They may be just selling metal. It could be a motorcycle dealer as opposed to a clothing specialist, which generally is all we deal with. We're in the brands we're working with. We're only really dealing with clothing specialists as opposed to people who sell metal and say the clothing's on the wall over there.
Okay. Are you lads all right if I was to put your contact details, like your social media stuff? So if people out there, women out there, want to contact you, like you just said about places to go and get it, I'll just give them your Instagram.
Because we're on the road and really busy, it's a good idea to talk to people as well, like this. You get on the phone, just tell us what you need, what you've experienced, and how you need some help. We've been in this nearly 30 years, and we everybody else in the industry.
I don't know if Mick's found this. When we do the IAM talks, so we try and do talks to them as much as we can, as many as we can, because it's just a good event for everyone to listen and learn about kit. Before I start talking, normally you're there early and people are filtering in. Normally you do get quite a lot of women come up to you and saying that exact question. Why is it always pink? Why doesn't it fit properly? Why isn't there anything good? And then when you get a chance to sit down with them afterwards or during the talk or whatever, and you talk them through it all, they think, oh, thanks a lot. I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that existed. So it is worth going to a good clothing specialist shop who is, there are stores out there, huge volumes of women's clothing, depending on where you are in the country.
Gotcha. Right.
Places like Hideout Leathers, for example, is run by two women, and they're absolute specialists in women's kit in Saffron Walden. So there are good people out there, but you do have to, unfortunately, look a bit harder. I would say that we're not very tactile. When women are a little bit more tactile, they like to see how it feels. Men tend to just throw a jacket on and go, that'll do. Whereas women do tend, and again, they're going to hate it because I'm generalizing, I know, but they tend to want to feel and fit right and be a better service, I think. So it's always a little bit harder to get it right for women. First of all, because their body shape. Second of all, because there's not as much range. And third of all, because they want it to be just right. Whereas men tend to just throw a big baggy jacket on, it's not working properly, and they're like, I'll be all right.
And then you have to have an argument to get them into it fitting correctly. Right. So the women will get it fitting correctly straight away. But they're also colder.
Yeah.
Generally colder than guys. So you've got to, that's not difficult anymore. That's just technology. You could run a heated vest. I am going out in the morning, although, if someone's touring on the back of the bike or the front of the bike, if they're going out early mornings, even in the summer in Europe, you can just click a heated vest on or wear a down, or they need this information rather than, being told, well, there's the only jacket that we've got for you. Yeah, it's the same specs as the men. And they're definitely wearing it, and we're definitely doing the job because we go to the shows and talk to them. Yeah. I've got the same spec kit as my husband. It's really good, or there's something wrong with it, or whatever. We're the manufacturers, aren't we? So we're giving both sides of the story. Hopefully,
Lee's. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry, man. This delay is a nightmare at times, isn't it? Lee, that posed that question, his wife is actually, she's also a tester with Triumph, a motorcycle tester with Triumph. So I mean, she's out riding in all manner of weather, same as Lee, and really does test the kit.
We bore her to death, and we could definitely sort it. Do you know Steph Jevons?
She's been on the podcast.
She has, yeah. Cool, you do watch it or listen to
it. Yeah. Steph has used Halvarssons, I think, off her back initially, but on the trip she was using Lindstrand's same family of kit. She's now got the equivalent of the top of the range laminate suit for men that fits her absolutely perfectly. And she's got an off-road school. So she's in Wales, off-road school, using the same kit every single day. I've just taught her how to wash it and what to do with it, and what to wear underneath it. I've just done some joint talks with her. I do Isleman TT talk and a layering workshop. So that's when we talk about IAM, we're just talking about the fact that when they have a general meeting, we can come along and they do a few certificates at the beginning, but then I have an introduction video, which you saw, chat a little bit about who I am. But then after that, it's right, we're packing a bag to go away. This is what I do to wash it. This is what I do to proof it. This is what I wear underneath it. And here's some outer garments. And all the time I'm trying not to talk about the brands that I work with. It's not a Tupperware meeting. These guys will sell you the stuff, but this is how it works. And I did one of those with Steph, who's then gone through her slideshow and her book. And we've done 2 now together. And she's just working with me on it. There's lots of things that she's saying. I'm thinking, I'm doing that. Put your underwear on when you're away and you've got 2 sets of underwear that you're rotating and not bags full of kit. She puts it in a cargo net behind her so no flies can get on it in the heat to dry out while she's riding during the day, and then switches over to the next one. Brilliant. I can do that. Equally,
great idea.
I'm talking to her about the fact that that you run a skinny down to regulate your temperature. If it's still warm, you're getting up in the morning and you're mountain riding, and then you come back down, it's 30 degrees. You can just regulate that with your Downex. And people haven't got one because they haven't got that jacket and they didn't know that technology. So we're working together on that. That's a fantastic fitting woman's suit for under $1,000. Attach the underwear to that as well and a down jacket, and you've pretty much got anything, any weather in the UK, but maybe as far as, you can't go to Italy in the summer in it because it's a laminate jacket with just zips on. You'd be into a mesh. But for general riding, even if they're a test rider, that would be a suit that would be washed every month and just wear the thing. You don't even have to look out the window, just wear the thing. If you want to keep it cleaner, wear a plastic suit over the top of it. Because it's hammered every day.
If women are struggling really, then they want to get in contact with us. They can either do it obviously through our socials or through Halvarssons MC, and we'll point them to a local dealer that we know stocks the kit. So know where they have a good range, not just our stuff, because our stuff might not suit. They might be better off with a leather jacket from Alpine Star or whatever. So we'll try and point them in the direction that gives them the best options.
Nice one. Well, folks, what I'll do then, if you are in need of that sort of advice, then check out the podcast show notes, or if you're watching the vid, look at the vid description, and the chap's links will be down there. So drop my line. Right, cheers for that one, Lee. Next one, Louise Worsfold. Thank you, Lee Vigor, for asking this question. Too many manufacturers think that adding a pink stripe, that was the one I'd seen. Too many manufacturers think that adding a pink stripe to a men's jacket makes it count as feminine. No one is asking for pastel floral patterns or unicorn tit tassels, but maybe something designed by a woman for a woman. Also, why is it so hard for clothing manufacturers to make size ordering so hard? I would have spent far more money if I knew what I wanted would actually fit me without having to send stuff back multiple times. We kind of covered that already, haven't we?
That's online, really, isn't it?
Go to your local shop.
But then, in a defence, you've got to find a shop that works.
That stocks everything. Yeah. Now, on to my question. If you found yourself stranded on Squid Game Island and you had to pick one of the games to survive, which one would you pick, and who are you counting on to get you through safely? Have you watched Squid Games? No.
I haven't seen it.
On the bell.
Neither. None of you watched it?
No.
Have you got Netflix?
Yeah.
Honestly, watch Squid Games. It is
not
awesome.
Not The Crown.
No, definitely not The Crown.
No one's buying any of our kit now. We haven't watched that.
Squid Games is I think it's Korean.
Yeah.
I think it's originally a Korean a show, but it's basically these mega rich people have set up a game show. And the people that get on the game show are people who basically are in need of money. It's people in lots of debt for whatever reason, gamblers, people that have needed to take on loans for family businesses. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Someone that wants a ruckus suit, all that sort of stuff. Right. People have put themselves into debt, and they have recruiters that go around and recruit people to come in and join the next season of this show, but nobody knows what the show is. So they all turn up, and basically it is a show to the death. There's lots of different levels, and each level is various different things. Like I think the first level, say there was 100 contestants, and they have a big sort of robot thing that has machine guns for eyes. You've seen that one. And the idea is when it's not watching. So you have to go still. So it's all things like they've got a tug of war where the losers get pulled off a precipice into the abyss, so that whole team dies. It's all lots of things like that. And it just gets progressively worse and worse and more severe and more severe. It's amazing. You've got to watch it. It's brilliant.
You've got to pick a level. Wearing your own protective equipment to test it.
No, pick someone to get you through it.
It's just which game would you pick? But if you've not watched it, you won't know what the games were. Me again, folks. Just a short one. We are also sponsored this month by the Influencer Store. If you go to TeapotOne.com, you'll go to the shop, check out any of the merchandise that I have available. That is all handled by the Influencer Store right here in the UK. I've got a quick bit of blurb to read out for them, and that is, the Influencer Store helps you build your brand, big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. For more info, come check us out at theinfluencerstore.co.uk or drop us an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more information. Make sure you check them out, folks. Head to TeapotOne.com, head to the shop, and you'll be supporting both the Teapot One channel and the podcast right here if you buy anything from the merchandise. So a massive thanks in advance to you and a huge thanks to the Influencer Store. And lastly, folks, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. Thank you very much for listening to the podcast, for watching the vids, for commenting, for liking, for sharing, for following and subscribing. It all is a massive, massive help. We're on a bit of an upturn at the moment. The podcast is gathering momentum. The channel is certainly doing really well. So a huge thanks to everybody who's been involved with that. If you want to go that extra mile, then you can always buy some merch over at TeapotOne.com, or if you really want to get committed, you can join the clan over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. All links for everything are down below, folks. I appreciate any support in any form you can give. All right, then. That's enough with the beg and bowl. Let's get back to the podcast. Cheers for that one, Louise. Sorry we can't answer that because the boys haven't watched Squid Games. For me, oh God, what game? What game? Jeez. I like the tug of war one. And I like that first one, but I don't think I'd be very good at staying still, to be honest. I shake like a shitting dog. I got really bad concussions from my rugby days, and it's left me with really shaky, particularly shaky left hand, but both my hands will shake a lot. So I have these like tremors now. So yeah, I can't. Yeah, I would be dead quite quick, I think.
Dangerous sport, wouldn't play it.
Yeah.
I played on Saturday. So.
But you're still playing?
Just about. Yeah, when I'm needed.
Wow.
They let me play number 8 on Saturday, which is rare. Normally they don't let me play 8 because that's my favoured position. So I played Saturday.
The game is so different to the game I played. Like I sort of gave up mid-20s. My God. Like 90s was my heyday at rugby, and it is so different from that.
Yeah, I mean, it's moved on too far for me as well. I'm 41 now and I can't keep up. So
wow,
that's why I play when I'm needed, when they're shorter numbers.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, but it's just everything. I mean, the pace it's played at is phenomenal now. It's just so quick. And they're all massive. It used to be, if you were big, you were a forward. Now you've got wingers that are like 6'5" and 19 stone. They're all
a couple of years ago, we did Bournemouth Sevens tournament, and quite a few years ago, actually, but Josh Lucy was our coach.
Yeah.
So one of the guys knew him, so he came and coached us. We were playing touch, and I thought he's not that big. And then I ran into him, and it was literally like running into a brick wall. I was like, oh, yeah. That's what happens when you get conditioned by a professional. Yeah.
I met Lawrence Dallaglio not long after he stopped playing for England. Oh my God, that guy was just like, I am a straight bloke. I like ladies. Do you know what I mean? If he wanted to get dirty with me, you're not going to say no. The guy, his legs were like that big. You know what I mean? You're like, this bloke could do whatever he wants to anybody because you're not going to win. And he was enormous. Anyway, we're going off topic again. Yep, last one of the Patreon questions. Are you lads okay for time?
Yeah.
Okay. Michael Heaton. Hiya. So that's my catchphrase. Hiya. Sorry about such a boring question, but since Gore-Tex only works when clean, what is actually the best way to clean Gore-Tex lined or laminated Gore-Tex clothing?
Okay.
Good. I was hoping someone was asked that.
So there's
cleaning Gore-Tex.
It's really simple, really. So take all your armor out. Depends what Gore-Tex jacket you've got to check the label, obviously, to double check before I say definitely do this. But all Gore-Tex, this is Gore-Tex brand, just to be clear. So a lot of people confuse Gore-Tex with waterproofing. If it's Gore-Tex on its own, then it should be machine washable. So you take all the armor out, all the linings out, do all the zips up, put it in the washing machine. It's good for it. Use Nick Wax or Storm are probably two major brands. Storm is the one that they sort of recommend for rucker, but you can use either, really. You have two bottles. One goes in the conditioner drawer. With Storm, one of them goes in the conditioner drawer. One goes in the fabric softener drawer. So it's easy. It's green for clean. The green one goes in the detergent drawer. The blue goes in the fabric softener drawer. Wash it and then try and apply some heat to it in an airing cupboard if you can, because it helps activate the water resilient coating. And that's it, clean and washed. If you use Nick Wax, you have to do them on separate wash cycles and you have to clean the drum first. Don't use Daz or Ariel or any of that stuff because it blocks up all the pores in the jacket and stops it breathing. The reason
it strips off the DWR from the outside of the jacket as well.
Yeah, so every jacket you ever buy will have, any quality jacket you ever buy will have a DWR on the outside, which stands for durable water resilient coating. So the water will run off it. When it's new, like mercury off. Yeah. Over time, that wears off and the coating wears off, and you have to reactivate that by using Storm or Nick Wax and then adding heat if you can. So that's how you wash it. It's really straightforward.
Right.
I'm
not sure what. Sorry?
Tumble dry it on low.
You can tumble dry it if you want.
Take the armor out.
I'm going to admit something. As far as I know, I've done exactly what you said with my Rucka Navala.
Yeah.
Because I'd worn it for a year and had never washed it, and I was wearing it because it was bogging. It was proper bogging. So I did exactly what I think you've just said, and I used the Storm stuff. And then basically straight from that, I was heading to Romania, and I got soaked. The jacket saturates now. The water doesn't run off. It just saturates straight in. And I was like, what have I done wrong? I don't know what I've done wrong.
I don't know either. Huh?
The other thing is
I don't know what it is either.
I watched a video. I was trying to get this in layman's terms, and I was just watching all the videos. There's a guy that was in his garage, and he's got a rucker suit on the floor, and it's covered in mud. And you can see he's got his bikes and stuff. He's got a washing machine in the garage. And he said, put your machine, just in case there's any detergent in it, put your machine on a speed wash. And while he's doing that, take the armor out, do up all the zips. And then he was measuring out using more. He was using Granger's, so it's a 2-in-1 wash. So you just pour that in. But firstly, you clean the drawer. So because you might have detergent in the drawer. So clean.
Yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Warm water, stick the drawer in. Use the ball or whatever, and just maybe overuse the product. Put it in on a speed wash, and then when it stops, take the garment out, put it on the line, let the water drip out a bit, so that you're not using so much energy when you tumble dry it. But always tumble dry it or apply heat somehow. Not on it directly, but maybe with a towel on it. But all these products are activated by heat. Also, when you tumble dry it, you're standing the fur up. So you've applied static, so the water bounces off. If you're going to go out in the rain like I did in Scotland, where you're doing 9 days and it's hammering the whole time, and there was only a couple of times that we've got dry rooms, and then it's beautiful, and then you just put everything into the drying. I also use Fabsil, which is a silicone spray for the outside, just apparel.
Storm do one as well.
Yeah, some sort of silicone spray. And if you're using a rucksack, without your heat light on, that's shivering, so it's wearing off the DWR.
But
it's wearing it off.
With your Navala, it's a laminate, so it shouldn't pick up lots of water. If it's picking up lots of water, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's like
absolutely saturated.
I noticed it in when I was in Romania, because one of the guys I was with had another Navala jacket. He just bought the Navala jacket, and I stood next to him and I looked, and his jacket, all the water was just beating off and running, and mine was just soaking straight in. I'm like, what have I done different on this? I wondered if maybe when I tumble dried it, I had it on the absolute lowest setting of the tumble dryer, and I thought, I wonder if that was too low, if it wasn't hot enough.
No, it's just got to apply a little bit of warmth to it.
Yeah, because the jacket came out and it didn't even feel warm when it came out the tumble dryer.
You could destroy the rubber or, pieces on the outside of the jacket. The membrane will cope with it, but don't just whack everything up on the pot. It's a bit dirty. Just wash it.
Because of the construction of the jacket, it shouldn't take on loads and loads of water. So if it's taking loads of water like an old jacket would have done, then there may be a bigger problem, but you'd have to look at the jacket to find out. If it's delaminated, that's a problem because it creates a gap between the outer and the membrane, and then the water fills the gap. Whereas that should be one material together, so there should be nowhere for the water to sit except for between the stitches. So it's difficult without obviously seeing it or looking, but
if it's absolutely hammering down, I'd say work also with the silicone spray.
Yeah,
right.
It's basically a tent spray, and then you really see it. Yeah. So when you take it out, you've done the washing and the drying process. Put it on the tap. Just get the arm of the jacket and put it under the tap and see what happens.
Have a look.
It should mercury off. It should look like mercury.
Yeah, it didn't. That was the thing I noticed straight away. It was like riding through, literally heading to the tunnel. So I washed it the day before I left. That's how much forward planning I put in. So I'd washed it, and then the next morning put the jacket on, headed to the tunnel, and it was raining. So I remember coming out the tunnel in Cali and riding and thinking, I just remember looking and thinking, it's not running off the way it usually does. So by the time the end of that day, I wasn't wet because it wasn't coming through, but the jacket felt really cold because it was just sodden. And
the other thing is that if it's wet out, you've got no breathability. You're also wearing cotton. So if it was warmish at all, and you've got the sweat going into your t-shirt, that's where it's staying.
Yeah.
So if you've got some sort of, especially with merino, you can really see it and feel it. Even if the jacket's leaked, I've had a situation where it's raining that much, it's come through the zip, and I didn't actually notice it until I stopped and we're having a coffee, and look, I've got beads of water on my arm. I couldn't feel it because I was wearing merino. If I had a grey shirt on or some sort of cotton underwear, it would have been soaked, and I'd have just thought, my God, my jacket's completely failed, because you just put one droplet of water on cotton and it's just all over the place.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Never going. Put your jeans in the bath, pick them out, see how long it takes them to dry. It's for 2 days, isn't it?
I'm going to have to dig out. I'm going to have to find where my base layers are then, because I've not used them since my sports bike days. I'll need to dig them out.
Where are you based?
Me, just near Maidstone, down in Kent.
Right. So if you go and see, there isn't really a Halvarssons dealer there. It used to be Laguna, but you'd need to go and see Mark at JNS, who I think you know anyway.
Yeah,
you know Mark in there. Yeah. So you go and see Mark and just ask. They do Knitquacks, big Knitquack sales. So they should have a TX spray. I think that you could probably spray onto it. Would probably be the best bet. To give it a go on top of your jacket. They're really good at Knitquacks at JNS. So they should know everything you need to know. So it'd be worth just going and having a chat to him.
Yeah, I will do that.
And he's also a really nice guy and makes good coffee. So
he's a lovely fellow, isn't he, Mark? Yeah. Nice guy. Yeah. I've not been in for a long time, actually. I need to.
He's still there.
Excellent. I'll tell him you said hello. Michael's got a second sort of question. Also, what's best, full English or a burger?
Oh, full English.
I'm a full English guy as well.
Scottish, I reckon, because you got those.
You get haggis. Or lawn sausage. Yeah.
I'm converted now after that trip.
But just to throw a spanner in, I'm also I'd rather have a burger than a steak, which is a bit weird for a lot of people. So
what? Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, no steak.
Steak
all
day people up all the time. Go to a steak restaurant, I order the burger or the ribs or something.
I can't do the big full cooked breakfast when if I'm away on tour and stuff, because without wanting to lower the tone any further on this podcast, anyone that's been away on a bike trip with me will know my stomach is not the best. So like in the morning, I can't, for a big fat guy, I can't eat much in the mornings because otherwise I'm in tatters for the day. So everyone else is tucking into big English breakfasts. I'm like, I can't have it. I want like a banana or something. Anyway, right. Okay. Are you guys okay for time? There's a couple on Instagram and a couple on Facebook. Cheers, boys.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so we'll head across. Thank you very much to everybody in the clan that's left those questions. Head across to Instagram now at TeapotOne. Insta. Scott Partington. Would you recommend Aramid armoured hoodies? If so, what is the best on the market? Now, I appreciate you might not be able to put your head on the block in terms of actual names of products, but
I think you've got to consider what we were saying about fit.
Yeah.
So if I jumped over the handlebars at 50 mile an hour, even if I was on a moped, how the hell is that going to stay in place? So if it's, but then, I've just been to Milan and there are women in dresses on scooters, and and I didn't see any crashes, and there was no beeping horns or whatever. They've all been on bikes since they were about 14. But from a protective point of view, saying which one's the best, it would be the one that looks the best and it's got level 2 armor in it, and maybe completely Kevlar lined. So
I think you're right. I think it's all about what you're doing. If I'm just riding a scooter around a city, it's perfect because that's probably okay. But I would go for comfort and style first, and then and make sure it's from a reputable manufacturer.
I've got it here. I've got my this is a Resurgence rider shirt that I just wear generally, but it fits me really tight, and it's got D3R armor in it. I know it's not up to much, but if I'm, you're on the bike going to the post office. Or just, to a bike meet 5 miles away, you're not going to dress up like Rossi.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never tried a hoodie on that fits me well, a motorcycle hoodie yet. I'm yet to find one that I think fits like a casual, well-fitted hoodie yet. So,
have you tried? The reason I'm going to ask you this is because I've just been given one to try, and I'm wearing it. I'm off to Spain with Toro Adventure next week, so I'm going to be wearing that down there. Roadskin have just launched their armored hoodie, which has also got. I was listening to what you were saying, Mick, about the tops riding up and things like that. If they're not in place, they're not going to protect. Well, I think that. What they said to me, I've not looked at it yet, but it's got loops to go around your belt to hold the hoodie in place. Yeah. So, I only tried it in the shop, and I rode home wearing it as well. It fit. It seems to fit lovely. It's great. It's got all the armor built in.
You're out in the evening going to a restaurant or something like that. It's with you, isn't it? You got your Navarra touring, doing the big hard miles.
Yeah,
you could use, and that's equally. I wouldn't even take that away with me because I've got such a lightweight suit that I just use it the whole time. And if we were in a town nipping out, you might have your armored jeans on and that jacket, but they would be connected together.
Yeah.
The jeans, talking of that, and I know it's Halvarssons, but we just created a jean that's coming out next year that's got the zip attached. So the zip is actually, there's no kind of, if you put this on it or do this to it, the zip is there. So if you've got an equivalent jacket, they're fantastic. So we've kind of designed them ourselves. We want one of these. We want them to be short leg. We want lovely women's jeans as well with a high back. They suffer from that, the cold, the fact that they ride down. So you'd have a high back jean that attaches. But going back to his question, just make sure that it's really well fitted, not baggy and loose. Just imagine yourself climbing over the bars and hitting the tarmac, and where it would move and how it would work. And again, it's a compromise because it's not a car. If you're going to lose, contact with a vehicle, you will lose.
Yeah. But what you're wearing is the crumple zone that you get in a car, isn't it? So it's what is around your skin.
Ride as if everybody's going to kill you. Maybe that's the high vis question, isn't it? Really work. Don't rely on the fact that bloke can see you. Just react to the fact that he's definitely not.
It's true though.
On the road,
it's
whatever.
True.
He's not seen, even if he looks like he has.
I mean, me and Mick used to ride around in paddock jacket and Levi's for the whole of the 90s. So So it's not all about safety.
Right, nice one, Scott. Wonder L PNW, can textiles be as safe as leathers? Okay, that's a different angle of the question then. It's not, are leathers better than textiles? Can textiles be as safe as leather? Is that ever going to be an option?
You've got that kind of using high art, something underneath, some sort of aramid or something underneath the textile. Depends on how far you slide. If you're going to have a big slide and you're going to produce a lot of heat, in the bum area is normally the area of contention. That we've done some jeans where we're looking at them thinking, why haven't we done what we always do? Even in the textiles, underneath them is higher. So it's a high abrasion resistant textile.
Right.
It's basically terry toweling. So you've got loops that you can't keep still. So it's like trying to cut through the grain of wood. But if you hit the floor and you burn through the smooth surface, and then the next surface is loops, you've got to keep those still to then burn right through them.
Gotcha.
You're not sure about how many seconds it would last, but the fact is that the outer surface of leather, if you keep it oiled and you keep it supple, is always going to be a better option if it's nailed together.
Just there's been obviously a fair few questions on leather versus textiles. Quite a good. Bennett's Bike Social have done a chat to Brian from BKS, and he talks quite a lot about it in that, because he's got a new textile suit, and obviously he mainly does leathers, so he doesn't really have a sway either way, and so he's quite honest and open about it. It's actually quite a good little video on YouTube. So he talks about textiles and leather, and he still thinks leather is stronger. I think his textile suit's £2,700. And it's the old professional standard it hits as well. So it really is, it's all custom made, obviously made to measure, all that sort of thing. And his hits the old safety standard as well. So, and he's still saying, the ultimate is still leather. So that's where we're at. It's not far off. I mean, I've crashed in a fair few textile suits, and they've done the job. And I've seen in my time with Rucker, particularly, a lot of textiles been down the road real fast, and they've done the job. So it does depend how far you want to go with it, as you say. And as Mick keeps saying, do you want to be in a car or with a full?
In my racing experience, we were allowed to wear Kevlars. So when I was Grand Prix in the late 90s, Rolf Billand looked superb in his Kevlar suits with printed logos on his suits, and he looked ace. But when they went upside down, they were both bruised to bits. And I'm sure this is true, that they were banned in the Isle of Man. So that was, actual Kevlar technology with the armour on. That would have gone on. Obviously, it would have been better in these days, but Rossi and his mates would be using it because they're looking at the pinnacle, the best technology to look after these boys. They would have. They've got more and more textile in the suits in the areas where you don't
stretch panels and stuff.
Stretch panels, yeah.
Before, I mean, if you look back to the 60s, they were just wearing a dead cow, weren't they, with a number on the back? So they are actually wearing textile. There are panels in there that are textile, but not on the main crash areas.
Yeah,
it'll be leather. You can buy a textile leather jacket, a textile touring jacket, and it's got nubuck and leather panels on it, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the shoulders and the elbows. There's a reason for that.
Also, you've got with textiles in the other problem with textiles historically is they were loose and baggy, so the armor moved, as we say before, whereas leather is much stretchier and fitted a bit better. But as technology's moved on in textiles, you're getting a better fit. Like your Navala's got some stretch in it, so you can get it to fit a little bit better. Some of our stuff has got more stretch, so it fits better. So that's where it's catching up. But again, if you're going to fall off, there are AAA textile suits. So Klim do one, BKS Hideout AAA as well, I think. Do one as well. Yeah. So you can get a AAA version, but if you feel them, they're quite heavy and thick. You compare that to a AAA leather. The AAA leather is still lightweight by comparison.
Yeah, and it's all compromise. The fact is that you can still have a two-piece leather suit in the highest spec and wear it on your touring bike. You still could use it, and there's still people that insist on wearing leather trousers and zip them to their textile jacket, which is fine. And their legs are, but the main thing is their arse is more protected because, as I said, we're an exception to the rule that you put that kind of slide protection underneath. If you look at most of the trousers that you look at, you're going to go down on your arse. If you drop the bike down, you're hitting your butt cheek on the road, and if you keep it there, you're going to burn through it.
Yeah. And that's where you spend most of your time when you end up sliding, isn't it? You're going to flip over onto your back eventually, and then you slide. Yeah. It's interesting what you're saying there about textiles now incorporating leather patches and stuff, Mick, because I don't know if it's public yet. I don't know if it's on public release. I'm not sure. I just know from someone in my past way of life, I know Rucka have developed a suit on from the Navala, which was because of the slide rating criticism. I know they were getting a lot of criticism on the Navala in particular, because I think it's only AA. It's not AAA, is it? The Navala.
Oh, it's single A.
But single A. That was what it was. Yeah, the actual slide rating was so low. what they've done is I've seen the jacket, and it has, I don't know if it's leather, but it's got like a proper. Yeah,
it's Keprotec, yeah. It's called a Kingsley. So yeah, so it's got Keprotec on the slide impact areas.
Okay, and is that raised the slide rating, the protection rating?
That gives it that hits it up to the double A rating level.
Gotcha. Right.
So the Navala's full stretch, which is why it's so comfortable, and it's still the one I would buy. So I actually prefer yours to the current one because I think it's a nicer design than the personally. But the new Kingsley's a stronger suit, but if you put it on, it's nowhere near as comfortable as a Navala. Right. So again, you take your choice which way you want to go with it, I think. And all their products are great, The designers are good, the product's good.
Is that public yet, the Kingsley? It is public.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
The latest suit this year is the Navala 2, the replacement to yours. And I think the Kingsley came out last year. I think it's about £1,500 ish, maybe, for the jacket. Just for the jacket. So it's a good suit, though. It's a well-made suit.
It should be.
A little suit of armor. They actually made one 20 years ago. I'm talking about history now, called the SRO suit. And that was the first ever laminate motorcycle suit on the market with Gore-Tex XCR. And that was £1,000 20 years ago just for the jacket.
Wow, 20 years ago. Good God.
Yeah, Mick brought it around to my parents' house when he first started working for Rucker to show it to me when I was still living at home with my parents.
Yes, we're kids then.
Right, cheers for that one. Wonder L in PNW. The last one on Instagram, the ginger bearded biker. Hi Bruce, love the show and listen weekly. Thanks very much, bud. I ride all year round and I've been trying to find out whether all motorbike waterproof clothing is waterproof to an extent. My issue I've found is that waterproof textiles that aren't waterproof. My issue I found is that waterproof textiles aren't waterproof. I've owned RST textile trousers, jacket, and 2 pairs of Oxford Tracker 2.0 boots. They all leaked after 10 to 15 minutes of riding. I got Alpine Star Gore-Tex boots, and they don't leak at all. Is Gore-Tex the only material that can handle 30 minutes plus journeys around 60, 70 miles per hour in pouring rain? Okay, so is Gore-Tex basically where you need to go, or Gore-Tex Pro if you want complete waterproof kit?
Well, I've been, like I said, I did Outer Hebrides, back around the top road, right around the top, then back through Glencoe. No waterproof suit over the top, no plastic Johnny suit over the top. Everybody else I was with did that, but I was testing it. So I'm writing all the information down all the way. And, it's not Gore-Tex. I'd say no. The manufacturers that are doing high-end non-Gore-Tex equipment wouldn't agree that it's got to be Gore-Tex, but that's the pinnacle. Those are the guys that are doing the testing, and that's what you're paying for. So everything else that you could also say that it's got to be fit for purpose, isn't it? If that was as someone who's commuting and doing a lot of miles, and did you buy the right equipment? Mm-hmm. It sounds like it was at the bottom end of the ranges to me. Mm-hmm. In money, we're talking about. I mean, look at your suit. Look at the suits. These are £600 jackets, £400 trousers upwards. Mm-hmm. To a certain extent, you get what you pay for. But some of the things that we've been talking about, if that's a new suit, then it's a different ball game, isn't it? If you're saying I had it a year and this has happened, or I washed it and this has happened. Mm-hmm. All these things you've got to apply to it. Wearing the right underwear, having the right garments in. We've even spoken to people that have got a drop liner or an adventure suit with a lining that comes out. It's completely soaked. Did you take the lining out? Yep. Well, the lining is the waterproof membrane.
Really?
Once a week, I would say that happens.
Yeah.
Constant. Because they buy it online and no one tells them. And then you get a phone call, my jacket leaks, and you go, that's the waterproof bit you've taken out. What
I could say to that guy is give us a shout, ring me, contact me, and I'll put him in a suit that won't leak. And it's the same suit that Steph Jevons has got, who's working in Wales on an off-road school, riding in rivers, and then cleaning it and using it on the road as well, because they've got 2 types of tour. And will say to me, I think I should wash it for no particular reason, but it will feel better if you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Gore is the pinnacle, but it's also the most expensive. If you've got £1,000 to £1,500 to spend on a jacket, Gore's fantastic. we're not in that level. We're in the sort of £400 to £600 price point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in that level, our stuff's brilliant. There are other manufacturers that work in that level as well that are good.
Yeah.
I think Revit have bought out a £700 jacket that's non-Gore-Tex now. I think Dayanese are the same. So there are people playing in that sort of area. Or Sympatex. So you can get waterproof. If you go right to the bottom, the standard for waterproofing is so low because it's essentially a gardening standard to be dry in the garden or walking about. If you're doing 100 miles an hour down an autobahn in the driving rain, it's going to leak. There's no doubt about it. And you kind of have to be a bit realistic when you're talking £200 for a jacket. It's probably not going to do the job, because if you think about how much that jacket's costing to make, where they've had to cut the corners, it's probably not going to do the job that you want it to do in those conditions. Also, one thing I'm going to mention is just a funny story. A guy came up to me at the show and he said, you sold me a jacket last year. I said, right. He said, it's leaking. I said, okay, no problem. Get it washed. Speak to the dealer. They'll send it off. Get it checked for you. It was a Rucker one. Any problems? And he went, no, it's leaking through the neck. And I said, what? Where the hole is?
Where the hole is?
Yeah. And he went, yeah. So I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know what you want me to do. So
the public are awesome, aren't they?
Amazing. I think he was expecting a scuba diving suit, but anyway. So that went down his neck. So people have got, the other thing about cotton is if it's sticking out the top of your jacket, it'll wick all the way down and you'll end up with a big wet thing. Or if you've got a bit of a belly, the other thing with the belly is it pushes your jacket out at the bottom and then the water comes up and hits the bottom of your belly and you get a wet stomach. So
you need a high trouser generally.
Yeah, high trouser and a bit of a brace that you can attach to it maybe.
Gotcha.
Go over to cover that area. So you can get waterproof that isn't Gore-Tex, but if you've got, a lot of money to spend on a suit, Gore is probably still the pinnacle out there.
But it's still got to fit right, and you've still got to have the right stuff underneath it, and you've still got to maintain it. I've still up at my talks, and they've got amazing suits, and I've walked in and seen someone and thought, right, okay, his suit is hanging, he's got a cotton shirt underneath it, and I'll use him as an example. Mm-hmm. So all his mates will laugh at him. He's done this wrong, that wrong, because obviously he's going on about having the best suit and spending all the money, and I've just ripped him to pieces. And then I'll give him a free underwear top or something. To give him a clap. But if you can put all these things together and buy the correct item for what you're doing, so that if this guy's, he might have bought them in a sale, but if he's invested in a set of Gore-Tex boots, then he understands that, that was really good technology. I really like that. Then just go with that feeling. If you get your money back, then go to a shop, say, right, I'm doing this. I'm commuting 60 miles a day. It's pouring with rain. I've just been going on about Italy, but when I was there, there's people just in that they're just wearing down jackets at the minute. It's that kind of weather. It's 17 degrees during the day. It's 7 at night. It's hammering when we got back. It's awful. So we're probably one of the countries that's got the most extreme weather. Everything's green. It's wet. It's damp all the time. It's got a hard job to do. The other thing that we haven't mentioned is don't switch your heated seat on and don't put your heated grips on full blast if it's pouring down with rain, because the membranes work on the basis that mist goes through and it can work in both directions. So if you put water onto a heated grip and turn them up full blast and put your hand over it, that membrane is going to take the water as mist into the glove. So if you find that you've got 2 gloves on the grips, these gloves are rubbish and they're Gore-Tex and they cost £200 or whatever. Nothing works. Turn the heat off and make sure your gloves are underneath your jacket and they're done up correctly. Yeah. So that's when the Velcro comes in, like the guy was talking about. Do the zip up, get it all tight. Always have them underneath. And people say, I don't understand that because the air is going that way and the water will too. Well, as soon as you shut the throttle off, or you're doing, which you are, about 40 average, even if you're doing 150 on your sport bike, that lining is made to wick in this way as well. Unless they're a posh glove with a pull cord on and an insert, and generally speaking, they should be underneath. And a heated seat will work in the same way. You've got the heated seat turned up because it's cold and wet. You've got a pool of water on the seat that turns into mist and comes straight through the membrane every time I ride. So that's one of the questions that our specialist dealers should be asking you. Have you got heat? If it's leak.
Sorry, I never knew that about the heat. I knew about the gloves because I always used to wear my gloves over my jacket, and like every pair of gloves I ever wore, my hands were getting wet. I was just like, these things are shit. But but it was once I got like the rucka suit, and I could easily get once you invest in a good textile suit, and you can easily get the sleeve over your gloves, because I was just wearing leather before that, so you had no option really. But yeah, once it went over, it was like, well, my hands are dry. Why is that then? Because I couldn't, my brain couldn't compute that. I was like, but surely how? I don't understand. But as you just said,
loads of glove tips.
Here's another tip that's really cheap. This is if you can buy these as well, because I don't know what other manufacturers are doing, but in Halvarssons you can buy a waterproof neck piece that goes up over the top of your jacket. So I was in a situation where I was coming back from the boat, Santander, turned up 17 degrees just down the road. I knew it was going to be hammering the rain, but I thought it was going to be at Bristol, but it hit us beforehand, so we had to go into the services. They were with a load of Harley riders that were wearing their checky shirts, absolutely soaked. I was into a clear visor, put my waterproof gloves on, take my neck tube off because it wicks water. But my jacket has got a magnet at the front, 4 magnets on, and this neck tube that goes round that is on the outside. So the new technology, the guy who's got water going in the top now, you've got the tube, and you've got one on your Nirvala.
Yeah, Nirvala's got one. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
And I only use that when it's hammering down with rain, and then put it in my pocket where I can find it.
Another tip with gloves, so we'll go on all night if we're not careful. But if you ride every day in the winter, when you get home at night, put your gloves in the airing cupboard where it's hot and get them nice and warm, and then put them on before you push your bike outside. Because if your hands get cold pushing your bike outside, they'll just stay cold. So put your hands in nice warm gloves, then ride your bike out the garage. Don't push your bike out with nothing on your hands, because your hands will get cold and then they'll just be cold.
Yeah, it's common sense. It's common sense, isn't it? Now you say it. I think this could make a really good vid, actually, to explain all these basic. I'll have to look at doing something like that then. The best will in the world. The audio podcast gets about 15,000 downloads a month, which is not massive, but it's not bad for a podcast. The video side of it doesn't do particularly well. So I'd like to do something based around what we've chatted about on the main Teapot channel, because obviously the reach on that is far bigger. It'd be interesting. Actually, there's lots of stuff we chatted about I didn't know. I knew nothing about it. It matters almost as much what you wear under your outer garments as what you wear, outside. I didn't know about the heat side of things with heated grips, heated seats. Didn't know any of that. Yeah, there's a lot of little hints and tips, I think, that most
people don't. Most journalists don't either. So when I had some journalists up the other day, they said, "Oh, we've got to do some more stuff with you guys," because we didn't know any of that. Because people just send them kit, they test it, and they go, "Yeah, it's all right," or "It's no good," or "I liked it," or "I didn't," and they're not being trained on it. And one of my favorite stories is there was a tank bag we used to do. This was a long time ago, and we sent this tank bag to a well-respected publication. They gave it 5 out of 10, and they said it's because it didn't have enough magnets in it. Now, in their review, they said they'd like a bag where you tuck the magnets away so it doesn't get stuck to cars as you walk past it. Ours were tucked away when we sent it to them. They never found them. They said there weren't enough magnets on it, so it got a bad score because no one had explained it to them
on how to use it.
From that moment on, I used to go to the magazines and explain the product to them, every single product, so they understood it before they tested it. So that it's I know it's moved on to the internet a lot now, but it's definitely worth getting the word out there so people are using the kit they've bought the right way as much as anything.
And it sort of reaffirms again what we've chatted about throughout this whole podcast, the benefits of going to your dealership, retail shop, and actually properly getting fitted for the correct kit for what you're going to be needing it for. Are you commuting? Are you touring? How are you going to be using your bike? That sort of stuff. What is the best kit for you, and how do you properly use it?
Yeah. So don't go in, get all the information, and then save a tenner somewhere else. Just work with them. Everything that I'm a drummer in a punk band, and I go to one place to get all the stuff for my drums, and I don't even look at the price because I know how much that guy has spent with me. He's already spent. His boss has spent the money for the time it takes that guy to explain everything to me properly. Because, and I can get all the tips and everything that I need online, and all the information from the people that I'd like to. But then you go into the hardcore guy who's maybe he's working for one of the manufacturers or whatever, and he's got his opinion. But I've never had anything that's gone wrong, and it's been nice because you're there with him, aren't you? And he's got, he can't fob you off because you're right in front of him. Yeah. And if you get just go back, and they're upset about it, aren't they? Because he's the guy that I'm really going to sort that if they're any good. I've got another tip for the guy with the date. The guy that we were saying that's got leaky kit, but he's got his Gore-Tex boots. So just remember that I went to Gore-Tex to Livingston at some point with the ZZR 1400. So I rode with a dealer from the Midlands. So we've ridden to Livingston, got to the entrance of Gore-Tex, and they knew it was me because I had my test jacket on, which was red with 2 white stripes on. Someone had seen me on the road on the way in, get him, take his boots off him, and we'd test his boots for the content of cotton in my socks to see if I was actually listening as a person is he just nodding his head and listening to us? So just do that and we can use it as an experiment and we'll bring it into the meeting. So they took my Daytonas off me, took the inner soles out of them, scraped the stuff off them from my socks, and then analysed it for how much cotton. And I passed because Daytona had given me a pair of socks ages ago, and I just used them with the boots. Yeah. But it was, I think they were saying it was no more than 40% cotton, because they were saying you have to have some sort of cotton in there because of comfort, and that's it. But they won't work. It's the same as the underwear. We're just talking about top and bottom garments.
Yeah, I didn't even think about my feet.
Have a £700 pair of boots. No breathability, because what was the stuff that they always used to moan about people putting on it, which they'd wash off?
Beeswax.
And also stuff at the show where they used to clean your boots.
Yeah, can't remember what it's called.
Them up so they wouldn't breathe, and then you wear cotton socks, so you might as well have worn a carrier bag on your feet without oiling.
And they used to tell us it's the second sweatiest part of your body, the soles of your feet.
The second.
Right. Yeah, we won't go into the first. It's another podcast.
That'll be why I always used to get a pool. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Right, lads. I think there's literally one. There's 2 questions on Facebook. Are you all right just to batter them off? I know we're getting late now. It's like coming up for 20 to 10 at night.
I was concerned that we weren't going to be able to talk for long enough, but it turns out it's not a problem.
Isn't it crazy how quick time goes, though? Like, it's nuts. You turn around and go, what? We've been chatting for 2 hours, 3 hours.
We had a meeting with Vanessa, girl on a bike once. At Caffeine and Machine, and she kept having to tell us to get back on topic. She's like, guys, we're supposed to be talking about something.
Yeah. She's coming back on. She's been on a couple of times. She's coming on January, I think she's coming on. Right, okay. So thank you very much for those questions on Instagram. Last lot over on Facebook, it's just at TeapotOne. First one, David Deadman. Loved my Lindstrand's adventure suit. Great value and worked well for many years. My question is, where do you see the next major innovation in bike clothing coming from? We have D30 and airbags, but what will be the next technology leap?
From what I hear, it's going to be a change in membranes to nanotech, is what they're saying. So much more breathable, and you'll be able to get a jacket that this is quite far off still. That's sort of very a lot of airflow, but also remains waterproof. So you can almost have one jacket still. That's what they're working on. Yeah, but it's a way off still. That'll be quite a big innovation, I think. I haven't heard of anything else that I'm probably allowed to talk about recently. So it's.
What about having magnets connecting the jacket and trousers together?
Yeah, we saw an Ike
system, isn't it? But I saw that at Ike there, which was excellent. It's got a little clip at the front that you just drop it on and it attaches the trousers and the jacket together.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
And it will hold in the event of a spill.
Yeah, it's a little lock, a bit like you get on Krieger bags. I guess it magnetizes and locks in.
Wow. So it's got a bar at the back, and the magnet hits the bar, and clamps it down. It's just at the front, so it's got a small zip at the back, and then the front clamps on with magnets.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk over the years of lots of things. I've heard of wireless charging through your seat into the pant of your trouser to heat your suit, so you've got a wireless heated suit. I've heard of that. Rucker have launched a couple of years ago. They had an air conditioning unit essentially on the side of your suit, got a big fan that blew cold air through your suit to keep you cool. And they were using it. But it was about this big. You know, it was too big, but they used it in it was in the desert somewhere. I can't remember where they did a tour with 6-7 people, and they used it in the desert to ride through the desert, and it kept them cool through that. Wow. So I think there'll be movement on the sort of the air conditioning or keeping you the right temperature on the bike as well. That's happening slowly.
That would be. I wore an RST textile suit for one of my trips in Morocco, and I remember it was 49 degrees, and we were in the Sahara trying to pick GSs up. Yeah, I would quite like the aircon for that. I'll tell you that.
I think in those conditions, you've got to go motocross clothing. It's the only option, isn't it?
Oh, the thing was though is that we rode from southern Spain all the way down to Merzouga and like all around Morocco, and as you said, Mick, we encountered every type of weather you can think, from like the heat and humidity of southern Spain. Then once you get up into the like Atlas Mountains and stuff in Morocco, it was freezing. You get torrential rain, and then you've got 49 degrees like dry heat in the Sahara Desert. There was everything. There was like 6 of us, and I think 5 of us got heat stroke at some point throughout that trip. It was nuts. Amazing. Have you been to Morocco? Stunning place.
Need to go.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. Right. One more then. We've got final question, and that is Nick Hughes. Why don't many high-end manufacturers submit their textiles for testing to PPE standards? As far as I'm aware, it's only Hideout and BKS.
So he's not talking about PPE. He's talking about, I would imagine, the old standard, which is the old professional standard. And the reason is because it's extremely hard to hit, and they're uncomfortable is the problem. They're very stiff and expensive to manufacture. That's why it's hard. It's really hard to get it through that standard and make a comfortable suit. So when you're with Hideout and BKS, they can custom fit it so it remains comfortable, but as a standard off the peg, it's just not viable at the moment.
It's fit for purpose. They're professional riders that are using it that need that kind of. Mm-hmm. It's that compromise, isn't it? You're not looking at the comfort, you're looking at exactly what it does.
Mm-hmm. AAA textiles will be coming fairly soon, I would imagine, within at better price points in the next 2 years, 2 to 3 years. You'll be able to get AAA textiles sub £1,000, I think. Currently, the only mass market one is the Klim AAA Badlands, which is about 1,500-1,600, I think, for the jacket. Yeah. Right. But if you try that on, you'll see what I mean by it's very stiff.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job making it. It's a great jacket, but it's not as comfortable as your Navala or anything like that. So that's the reason, really. It's comfort and cost.
Okay. Right. Awesome, gents. Well, that's us gone through all the questions. Is there anything that we've not touched that you would like to chat about or bring up?
We've said everything, haven't we, really? Pretty much across the board. I mean, there's always loads to talk about. So if you did want to do something else on another channel or whatever, then let us know and we'll answer that. If people have got questions they want to fire in at you can always forward a load on, or whatever you want to do is fine. What I would say though is if you want to do this, up to you, but we're happy to give one of your listeners or subscribers a free pair of gloves. So
fantastic.
Maybe if they liked our Instagram page and put your handle on it in the comments, then Beautiful. I'll pick someone in about, maybe in December for time for Christmas or something. Okay. So if you think of a date, then we'll do that. We'll give them a free pair of gloves away as well.
Fantastic. Can you give out the tag? What is the Instagram page for people?
At Halvarssons MC.
Right, there we go. There'll be links down below as well, folks.
Yeah, so if you go on, I'll get our social media to put the episode up on the Instagram, and awesome. Then underneath that one, then we'll do something with that, and we'll send a pair of gloves to a winner.
Beautiful. So keep your eye out for that, folks. I will obviously repost on my socials when that goes live. Thank you very much, gents. Much appreciated. It's been great chatting with you. I've learnt loads, actually. There's loads there for me to look at. I'll go and check out all my cotton T-shirts that I wear underneath my bike. Great. Thanks very much, lads. Okay. Cheers for coming on. Folks, remember to follow all the socials. They'll all be down below. And all that's left to say is keep doing your thing. Look after those that you love. Get on out whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha! Cheers, boys. That was awesome.